and it is going to be super exciting. Is it the resurgence of Jamie Whincup? That brand new car, it's been so good this weekend, ready to take the fight once again to those pro drive Fords that have been so dominant in recent rounds. Whincup broke through for a victory on Saturday afternoon at Sydney Motorsport Park. There's a story for you. Steve Owen starting in the championship leaders car that he'll share with Mark Winterbottom for this one. Fuso starting grid as we take a look at how they'll line up for the 500, the first in the Pertec Enduro Cup. Whincup and Dumbrell alongside the championship leader, Winterbottom, who's paired with Owen. Mostert and Waters, they're fast. So are Webb and Van Gisbergen. Reynolds and Canto. Slade and D'Alberto, they've done an excellent job, Slade and D'Alberto. So has Lee Holdsworth and Sebastian Bourdais and the Erebus team. What can Coulthard and Yulden do for the Freightliner crew? Ambrose is back in an Enduro, and it's the most confident, the most positive we've heard him sounding since his return to V8 Supercar racing. Feels much more comfortable. Neil talked about it before. Good job this weekend by Tim Blanchard and Carl Reindler. Brad Jones Racing had to repair the Team BOC entry yesterday. They did a good job between the co-driver race for Andrew Jones and the one for the primary drivers and Jason Bright. Caruso and Fiore a bit further back, and then this is the one that we've been covering off in a headline sense, the Red Bull Racing Australia entry alongside the HRT entry after some little bit of tension yesterday. Russell's at the wheel and good to go in car 22. And the Kiwis, Andre Heimgartner, in that Super Black Racing entry that he'll share with Ant Pedersen. They had that brake issue sorted. This is where he got into all sorts of trouble yesterday, Neil. A very fast part of the track, but they had that brake problem cured.
Yes, that was nasty. The last thing you need in that particular location on the racetrack is any nervousness, any issues at all with your brakes. In fact, that particular area, turn 6, 7, 8, is also well known for triggering what's described as knockoff in the front brakes on these cars, where the caliper piston, the brake caliper piston and the brake pad rattle back away from the actual disc brake rotor itself. And so when you go for the brake pedal at the bottom of that hill at turn 9, you've got a heap of rear brake and not much going on in terms of front brake. Quite a number of drivers have been talking about that this weekend, and it's very standard at Sandown.
So 25 starters, 50 drivers though, co-drivers coming into play at this one. Real mixed grid too in some respects. Okay, guys like...
Be sure to get yourself laterally. There, 3 rows back. 2 rows back.
Well, guys, I've got to say the goosebumps are starting to go down my spine, and also I'm a little bit jealous. I'm starting to miss this action. I've got to focus in on this guy on the front here, Paul Dumbrell. I don't know if we've emphasised quite enough. I know we have given him a big rap, but the car won. The guy driving that car, starting this race, did an incredible job yesterday to put it on pole, or help Jamie Whincup get it on pole position. The front 4 guys, I think the race there is going to be very intense. Watch Jonathan Webb. Yesterday he caused a bit of a ruckus down at turn 1, and I reckon he might be wanting to spoil the party today. This will be a sensational race. Watch the front guys. There's a championship at stake here. Let's get the action going.
Second in last year's race, Greg Murphy. Hot spots here are turns 1, and then everything 2, 3 and 4, and then down at turn 9 on the opening lap. And look for some people to pit early near the back of the field.
The revs rise. Paul Dumbrell on pole position. The season of endurance starts now, and it's a drag race between the 2 heavyweights of the sport. Red Bull versus the Pepsi Max crew on the run down to turn 1. Dumbrell will hold it. Good start, Paul Dumbrell. Look at Jonathan Webb trying to sneak up the inside in that Darrell Lee Commodore, and he is ahead of the second of those PRA Fords around the outside. Good job in the Super Cheap Auto racer, Tony D'Alberto, who's had a good weekend so far, also driving a Ferrari in the GT Championship. It's busy back there as they come through turn 4.
Off-field's done a nice tidy job of managing turn 1 at 680 metres from the start line to the apex of turn 1. 6th gear, fast run up the end of the back straight. Remember, it's cold tyres, cold brakes. Drivers were urged to work as much temperature and pressure as they could in that formation lap. It's a pretty clean run down into turn 9 as well. They're all well aware of the responsibility of making sure that you can get to the end of these 500-kilometre races.
Tough start for Sebastian Bourdais, down in 11th. They came off the 4th row of the grid in the Team 18 entry. Looks like a move in the background. There is the Super Black Racing entry, putting pressure on Stephen Richards at the very tail of the field.
Now, Ambrose has lost a lot of ground. Pither is in, car number 34. There's a requirement to do 4 stops in this race. 34 qualified in 18th position. Someone ran wide. I think it was one of the Nissans down at turn 1. So the reason that they've brought Chris in is to tick that box, just top him up and give him clean air. It gets one of the mandatory stops out of the way. 3/4 of a second is the margin. Dumbrell over Owen.
Just if you're watching for the first time and you can see the leaderboard left of screen there, those little tips beside the driver's name indicate if the co-driver is in the car. Matches the light on the window, of course, which those of you that follow the sport closely, you know the co-driver is at the wheel when that's illuminated. Dumbrell leading from Owen.
Saw this yesterday, didn't we, with Paul Dumbrell? He gets into a rhythm very quickly, and he's got margin in hand at the moment, so the lap time for him then was a 1 minute 10.4. He was half a second quicker than Steve Owen. Jonathan Webb in 3rd position, watching brief in behind Owen, and then it's Cam Waters in 4th position. It's a bit unlucky yesterday, Cam, just to clip that little bit of curbing that's a hangover from the old long circuit here, and it triggered that lock brake for him down into turn 9. So that was Todd Kelly, or Alex Buncombe it would have been, in car number 7, running wide down there at turn 1. He's in 20th position.
Xbox Falcon, Marcus Ambrose, P24, back to the front. Look at the gap already, 1.1 seconds. Dumbrell to Steve Owen, and Waters starting to apply the pressure here to Jono Webb. Waters looks racy. He has a gap on the Super Cheap Auto entry of Tony D'Alberto, who's holding down a great 5th place, just ahead of Dean Canto, and then Alex Davison for Erebus Motorsport.
Quite a step forward yesterday with cars 47 and 18 at Walkinshaw Racing. Clearly found something to the drivers' liking to be able to improve those cars. It's a complex racetrack to set for. Waters showing very good sector speeds here at the moment, but not much he can do about it, and he'll be carefully sizing up any move. Oh, big mistake here for Jonathan Webb. He got up on the grass, got it all crossed up. Cam did the right thing. He just cleared the throttle and waited for it to all settle down. If he forced the issue then, huge chance of heavy contact.
A couple of the standouts. Ollie Gavin up into 8th place. Early days, but that's a good start for Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. And some progress as well for Nissan. David Russell is into the 10 in car 15.
Waters thought about a move at 9. The problem is there's a big invitation on the way in, because it looks like there's a gap and it disappears to 0 when you get to the apex at the centre of the turn. So he decided against it. And sitting under the rear wing at the moment, car number 97. He and Shane, Jonathan Webb that is, looked like a couple of chocolate salesmen down there on the start line earlier on when I bowled up to them. They had big grins on their faces. But it is heartening to see that Shane's got a smile on his face. Gee, that was, I was just watching car number 1 there. I was very close without seeing the light. Now, there's the reason why Ambrose went to the back of the pack, so he had an ordinary start. So the other angle of the replay of the start, but look at Ambrose, just absolutely has gone nowhere there. What a shame, because the qualifying position was healthy, wasn't it? And now he's second last in the field. Jonathan Webb got a very good start.
For a guy who doesn't do them regularly, he's not a regular driver in either the Dunlop Series or anything else throughout the year. That's really impressive. His return to the game for the Enduros, spot on. And good driving by Cameron Waters when they nearly tangled there before. Out of turn 4, just took it calmly. He knows he's got to help Chaz Mostert here, and Mostert is very much a championship contender.
Meantime, Stephen Richards in Craig Lowndes' car, 22nd. and in the middle sector of the racetrack, which is essentially the exit from turn 4 to the braking area of the hill, high-speed turn 6, he was the fastest man and has been the fastest man so far.
Scott, we're not quite sure what happened there with Mark's got a very slow getaway. Hopefully there's no problem.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a problem. I'm not sure what happened. It was almost like it wasn't in gear, so it just didn't even move. Whether it stalled, again, I don't know. But it's just disappointing. At least, fortunately, it's a long race, so hopefully we can get back up there.
Makes it a long day at the office for you later on.
It does. Hopefully you can get a few now, though. Hopefully if we have a safety car as well, anything can happen. Like I said, it's over 100 laps, so...
Car good this morning?
Yeah, very good. We made some big changes overnight. Neither Marcus or I were really that happy with it yesterday. Even though we were reasonably competitive, we just wanted to tune it up so we can move forward. And I think we did that this morning. We'll just see what happens now.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Cheers.
Marcus got a fine for a practice start on Friday during the ride session, but he's down in 24th at the moment. Paul Dumbrell leading the way from Steve Owen by 1.4 seconds at the Wilson Security Sandown 500.
It's out now to 1.4 seconds between Dumbrell and Owen. Just under 3 seconds covering the top 3. So this is what happened to Jonathan Webb. Too aggressive on the exit of turn 3. Found the grass on the right-hand side and then crossed it up. Waters just feathered the throttle and waited. This is at the other end of the circuit, down at turn 9. And Jack Perkins down underneath Andrew Jones, who will be gun-shy at turn 9 after contact yesterday with Alex Premer. Paul Dumbrell. This is the end of the back straight, turn 6. 5th gear, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Good exit. No evidence at all of that car wheel spinning or sliding. So there was focus in that garage overnight trying to make sure that the car was good for 40 laps. When they refer to the 40 laps, they're talking about a fuel load, which we expect to be in the order of about 40, 41, 42 laps, depending on your individual economy.
That car 22, Russell Ingall, 16th, and he pits now, so the Holden Racing team standing by for some action here.
Rusty. So clear running, mate, clear running. Line yourself up with the board. We're going to throw rear tyres on and fuel. It's going to be a very quick stop. All right, swing around, mate, swing around. Line yourself up, line yourself up. That's it, keep it going, 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 stop. Through to the drop, mate, you're right to go. Wait on fuel. Go, 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 go. All clear, all clear. Okay, Russ.
So this also gives Russell clear air.
Roughly 22 litres of fuel, stationary for about 6 seconds.
Jack Perkins, ripper start from Russell Ingall. You guys have just pitted, I suppose, to get into some clear air.
Yeah, great start, as you say, and we just let him out there until he got on the back of car 21 and the traffic, and then obviously that slows him down. So get him out, put some fresh rears on. He's going to go quite long now, I think. He's got great pace, and it should get us some track position later on in the day.
Nice stuff. Good luck.
Thank you.
So they've done with 22 what Wilson Security Racing did with 34 with Pither. They've just got that stop done earlier. They're doing the same now with Dean Fiore in car number 23. He's sharing with Michael Caruso.
Make sure the rear wheel's
Doing all four.
It's only about 7 seconds. Stop. Okay, mate, wheels done. Go, 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 Andy.
Dean Fiore staying at the wheel. Good to have that pairing back together, he and Michael Caruso. That's a stable lineup for them. That's important. And he's done some miles too, even as far back from memory as Super Test. So they work well together. Here's car 3. They pushed hard all weekend. Carl Reindler is currently in 13th place, chasing the 2. Pit stops to report so far, just to confirm the 22 for Russell Ingall. Rear tyres. And about 6 seconds worth of fuel, about 20 to 22 litres. Dean Fiore is someone who's also taken service for Nissan. We're watching Ingall here at the moment, who's rejoined in 24th place. Race being led by Paul Dumbrell by 1.8 seconds over Steve Owen. This is a little bit like what we saw in the co-driver race yesterday. Dumbrell just gradually eking out a lead, working away, building it up over the Pepsi Max crew.
Oh, that was just a whisker, wasn't it? Carl Reindler was so cool. That's Alex Buncombe off at turn 1. Car sales entry as well, but still recovering from seeing how close those cars were at the top here, at the end of the back straight. So Carl Reindler's driving the cool drive entry, car number 3 at the moment. He's having a battle here with Warren Luff. Warren's with Garth Tander in the number 2 Holden Racing Team entry. And just tucked in behind the watching breathe is Alex Premer, the Frenchman in the Volvo. These fellas are arguing over 12, 13 and 14 on the racetrack.
The sister car to car 3, the 222 of Oliver Gavin, is 8th. They had been chasing a vibration issue all weekend, and it wasn't until the morning warm-up today where they felt it was really cured. So good work, Oliver Gavin.
And I was just listening to Richard Holway, engineer for car number 33, and he's got no radio comms at the moment with Alex Premer, and he's just trying to encourage him to give him some signals if indeed Alex can hear but not transmit. So we'll keep an eye on that one. That could have an impact on their day later on. No radio comms is an issue.
Back to car 5, Steve Owen. And he has a margin, a gap over Jonathan Webb, you can see in the background there. And Cam Waters is right on the Darragh Lee entry.
Mark Winterbottom, a nice clean start by Steve Owen, just sort of sitting in his own space at the moment. No pressure at the moment from Jonathan Webb.
Yeah, he got a good start. It was pretty close off the line and stuff, but he's doing a great job. You know, he's trundling around, doing some really good times, and hopefully he's pretty happy with the car. He doesn't say much, he's like me, so you sit here with anticipation on the headsets, and all you hear is crickets for about 30 minutes. So probably a good thing. When we don't say anything, we're normally happy. So he's doing a great job.
Thanks, Frosty.
Cheers.
Cam Waters just seeking a gap down the inside. He may have actually done it this time. Jonathan ran a bit wide on the exit. It's very tight down here. It turns into a single line through 2 and 3. He's having another sniff.
Owen's cleared out, hasn't he? So they want to get on with it here. It's very early. We've still got just under 150 laps to go in the Sandown 500, but he can see his teammate there moving ahead. He sounded a bit nervous in the pre-race interview, I thought, Cam Waters. The enormity of the occasion perhaps really sinking in, that he is with this big frontline team and playing a very important role with them. He leads the Dunlop Series right now. He's had a very dominant year. The reigning champ is Paul Dumbrell, who leads the way in the race. But he's made some cool decisions, or good decisions, in the heat of the moment in that battle. And finally, Reindler gets it done.
Carl Reindler's Cam's driver development manager. We haven't seen him in action in a V8 supercar for a while, but he's looking pretty racy there at the moment. Alex Buncombe, we understand, has got a fuel pressure drama with this car, so we expect to see him in any tick of the clock.
Yeah, guys, that's exactly right. So I just spoke to the boys in there, and he's about to enter the pit lane. They've got the garage ready. It's running incredibly rough. The fuel pressure has dropped off well and truly in this car, so they'll be bringing it in. Hopefully they will be able to rectify it, but I'll keep you updated.
Straight into the garage, please, Alex. Straight into the garage.
Feel for these guys. They targeted the Enduros as a place where they would take another step forward, and we've seen good pace from this outfit during the year. A pole position for Rick Kelly, podiums for the likes of Michael Caruso and Kelly as well. And what a shame. Buncombe really excited to be back in the country. He was part of Nissan's Le Mans 24-hour program this year as well. We drift back to 33, now chasing car 2. So Warren Luff is in 13th place. Alex Premer, the Frenchman, behind him. And Carl Reindler's been able to put a car length or two on these guys already. The cool drive Commodore is going well.
So Alex Premer in early.
Turning now. Stop on the marks.
So they're doing all 4 wheels and tyres and squirt some fuel in as well. So 3 other drivers have stopped
Wheels
so
are
far.
done. When the car drops, you're right to go. Go. Go, 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 go.
Oh, there's a drama here. It wasn't properly disconnected. And I'm just hoping that didn't hit one of the crew. They've got safety helmets on. That's the most important thing. And you can see for the air system for the jacks, it's still poking out there to the left.
Still got the coupling on it. So that'll be deemed, I imagine, an unsafe release. And there's a clause in the operations manual also, I think, about just managing the pit equipment. So no doubt race control will be watching it, but he's departed without that uncoupling. That will require him to come straight back in.
You could see the crew clamouring to get it, to unhinge it, unhook it.
Oh. Ambrose is also coming in this lap. Oh, what, he coupled it back up. There's confusion there, so it was actually uncoupled and then put it back on.
Black flag car 33, mechanical black flag car 33. That's part of the air jack system sticking out of the side of the car.
There you go. So race director Tim Schenken. That's dangerous. There's a massive amount of pressure driving those systems, and off it's gone. So Ambrose in and out while all that's going on at Volvo.
40 laps. 40 laps. Look after the tyres.
Because they've also got to recouple all this as well.
You've talked about it in Enduros, haven't you? Just things can happen sometimes. The first endurance event of the year.
So it's resolved. Each car's got to be completely free of all hoses, tools and other equipment on entry and departure, and we've got a Pepsi Max car in here as well, Steve Owen. So we're seeing a departure in strategy for the two blue cars, which we figured would be the case, but we didn't know when, what, how, why.
Okay, pit lane yours when it drops. There you go when it drops.
With the eyes of Steve Owen. Synchronicity, calm of Pro Drive Racing Australia. He's away again.
And
black flag pit lane drive through penalty car 33. Black flag pit lane drive through penalty car 33. Breach of the pit lane regulations.
So more trouble for car 33, and 55's coming in this lap as well. So Dean Canto will be in this lap in the Botlow entry that he's sharing with David Reynolds, who's fourth in the championship.
Looks like they might have sorted the issues for Alex Buncombe for car 7. Car sales entry returning or exiting the lane. We go back aboard the 33. Alex Premer still at the wheel. Down in 24th place.
It sounds terrible. That car of Buncombe's just went past our commentary box.
Sorry, bud.
And remember, I reported it, what we thought was a radio issue with that car as well. Here's Canto.
Okay, just waiting for the last tyre, Justin.
Oliver Gavin.
Fuel is nearly done. Go.
Got a cone marker. He's got damage on the front right corner as well. He's broken a steering arm on that car.
Yeah, something broke on the left front. Something broke on the left front. Something broke on the left front.
This is a guy who's a 5-time GT winner at the Le Mans 24-hour.
Just be really careful there. Yeah, we've got a loose tyre rod there by the looks. So, yeah, take it easy, mate. Safety first, and we'll get you in the garage, please, mate.
Yeah, roger that.
Former British Formula 3 champion.
He was top of screen there.
And he's flying off the road there on the exit of 1, but
it's already broken by that point, isn't it?
yeah.
Watching Stephen Richards here, who's up to 14th place now, ahead of Andre Heimgartner. Ahead of him, the youngster making his debut from the Dunlop Series. He's currently 3rd in the Dunlop Series, Jack LeBrock.
PD will be coming in this lap, so Dumbrell in this lap, car number 1, the race leader. So we'll keep an eye on him. He's got a nice margin, 4-second lead that he's built over Jonathan Webb. So a fair bit going on in the early phase of this race. Sadly, a difficult start to proceedings for 33. 2 trips to the pit lane as a result of that air hose trauma. And these guys continue to march forward. Stephen Richards, position 14, is behind LeBrock and in front of Heimgartner, and into the pit lane now comes Dumbrell.
Go there, mate. Still staying in the car. Going to get some tyres and some fuel, mate. I'll keep you updated on how long it's going to take once we get started. Nice and easy. Use the lead in, mate. That's it. Nice and easy there.
David Russell in the background as well in the 15.
Let's do a screen. Yep. All tyres are on, just waiting on the fuel now.
Tear off as well.
Mate, clear. Nothing around at all. Clear, clear.
And PD eyes forward, leaves the lane.
4 cold tyres, mate. 4 cold tyres. Watch your exit. Watch your exit. 4 cold tyres.
Giving them a little bit of a tickle, so he'd be talking about tyre pressures. And I suspect that they would have overinflated slightly because there's a lot of direct sunlight on the racetrack and it's much warmer out there than the last couple of days.
Scott McLaughlin, all the preparation that goes into these things, all the practice and things can still go wrong. A little procedural miscommunication there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Everyone makes mistakes. I've made a few in my time, but it's disappointing for everyone. But we'll push on for our sponsors and whatever. But nothing we can do about it now. It's done.
All right, mate. Keep your chin up.
Cheers.
Nick, this is pretty heartbreaking when you had a really fantastic starting position to have the car in the garage.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Ollie's done an amazing job. We've had no laps. The car has had mechanical dramas since we rolled out the truck, and to be in the top 10 after doing 0 in practice, we drove a race car yesterday with barely any power steering, the brake pedal going on the ground. I thought we'd finally had everything, and he's doing an amazing job. He's like one of the fastest cars on the track, besides PD, who's in another league, and yeah, I'm just disappointed for him. Flying all the way out here. Had a terrible weekend, but you know, all the crew, JJ, Brett, all my guys, they work so hard, and it's upsetting for them, you know. So I get the glory at the end of the day, but they put all the hard work in, and it'll be good to reward them. And today, I think we're definitely on to be in the top 6. That was the goal, and the car was obviously quite fast.
Do you have any idea what happened?
I'm not 100% sure. I heard something about the steering, so maybe a rack. Just obviously the curbs are really harsh here, but I think it went unannounced because he went flying off at turn 1.
Thanks, Nick. Bad luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's an odd one. It seemed to break on the way down to turn 1. We've got a bit of flurry of activity here. The 97 is in the lane. Shane Van Gisbergen and Jono Webb. Webb at the wheel at the moment.
So these are all key positions. Leaves Cam Waters in the lead. So Webb, D'Alberto, Alex Davis and Luke Gilden have all come in a little pod here.
Okay, away you go, dude. All clear, off we go.
And in terms of the driver management, the maximum anyone can do is 107 laps. So therefore the co-driver minimum is 54 laps. So just to explain, the co-drivers will have to clear that 54 lap minimum requirement.
Solid drives there on balance, haven't they, from Tony D'Alberto and from Alex Davis, and it's early in the game, but those guys have just settled into the job at hand. Luke Gilden among them as well. Here's the 22, Russell Ingall.
First car in the field that has stopped is Paul Dumbrell. He's in 10th position. Everybody in front of him is yet to stop. So Cam Waters, the leader from Carl Reindler, Sebastian Bourdais. Gentleman on screen, Russell Ingall at the moment is in 14th position, and he came out behind Chris Pither, if you recall the stop, and he's still tucked in there at the moment, and just in the foreground is the recently stopped number 97 of Jonathan Webb. So quite a significant chunk of the field have now taken the opportunity to get that first stop done.
So we're still waiting for Cameron Waters to pit. He is the first car on the road ahead of Carl Reindler, Sebastian Bourdais and Warren Luff here at the 500.
This race settling down into a nice rhythm, and Cameron Waters doing what we'll probably see a lot of him doing over the next few years, and that is leading a V8 Supercars race. But at the moment, out of schedule with the rest of the guys that he's fighting, at least at the front. Andre Heimgartner At the wheel of car 111, the only main game starter in the field. We had only one last year, and that was David Reynolds this year. Super Black have decided to roll the dice. Heimgartner and Pedersen competing in their first Sandown 500. He's got 888 for company. Stephen Richards, Bathurst winner with ProDrive a couple of years ago. He made that switch last year to drive with Craig Lowndes, and that was a pretty plumb seat, given that Lowndes and Luff had just wrapped up the first ever ProTech Endurance Cup, a season within a season. And it's Heimgartner who ducks into the pits. More activity. Carl Reindler, Sebastian Bourdais, Andy Jones, all in the pits at the moment. Looks like it's going to be 4 tyres for Bourdais. We've seen mistakes in the pits already. That was a short stop for the cool drive number 3 of Carl Reindler. Didn't race here last year. Sat out the ProTech Endurance Cup.
Okay, we've got a champion exit for a power.
Andy Jones taking the directions.
Go.
He drops off the jacks.
Okay, AJ, recent fuel, buys 10.4. Recent fuel, buys...
Frustrating year last year for Andy Jones, driving with Jason Bright. Replay of Stephen Richards. Very nearly running off the road down at turn 1, an area that has caught so many out this weekend. And Heimgartner and Pedersen have done the first driver change of the ProTech Endurance Cup, by the way. So let's have a look at the right front there. Was really puffing about down at turn 2. And that was where Heimgartner got the move done. So maybe issues there for the 888. Oh, there's smoke up down there at Dandenong Road as well. We go riding on board with Russell Ingall. So cool to see him back with the Enduros. Meanwhile, the other HRT car, there was 2 of them on the podium last year. In comes Warren Luff. Hasn't handed the reins over to GT just yet.
Quickly.
First of 4 stops for these guys. Tear off on the windscreen. And he has that pit lane pretty much to himself, as Oliver Gavin's the only other man in there, but he has those issues that we saw earlier. So the picture is still becoming clear, but at the moment, Waters, LeBrock, Richards, first, second, third, the only 3 guys on the racetrack to not have pitted yet, and it's tight between Canto, who's starting this year, which he didn't do last year, great move, and pounces on Ingall. Moves up another spot. That one's for P8, should be P5 overall. Good racing inside what will effectively be the top 5. Canto just looking in his mirrors and approach the top of the hill.
You're riding with Dean Canto, who's moved ahead of Russell Ingall. That is for 8th position. Been some pit stop activity as well. The sister car to the 22. Warren Luff's been in for 4 tyres, fuel. Tear off as well. Here's a recap of the move that Canto made in the 55. Over, under, done. Driver change. This was a significant one. Heimgartner out. Ant Pedersen in.
That's a nasty little bit of action down there at turn 8-9. So Carl Reindler in car number 3, Warren Luff in car number 2. Luckily, they both popped out the other side. Both would have had a bit of oil pressure in the middle of all that. So Cam Waters continues to lead. He's got 20 seconds over Jack LeBrock at the moment. Stephen Richards is up in 3rd. So those 3 cars yet to stop, and they are 1, 2, and 3. First in the queue that has stopped is Paul Dumbrell, and we're looking here at Dean Canto in car number 55. He's in 8th position. Waters has made some good decisions so far, and LeBrock's just peeled off, and so there's now only 2 cars out there that haven't stopped. There's a couple of times he looked and decided against making a bold manoeuvre, and he's got speed. So one of the things that's good in the strategic bag for ProDrive at the moment is the AA combination of both Mostert and Waters gives them flexibility. They can leave Cam out there, it doesn't matter. He's making the same sort of speed. In fact, he's in. 6 will be in shortly. So be curious to see whether they do a driver change here. Here he is. Now he's hustling hard at the moment and trying to hold that nice cushion and margin, so stands it on its nose, 40 Ks, first gear.
Is there anything you need?
And be curious as what I was going to say as to whether they leave him in. I would suggest with the "is there anything you need" comment, they are leaving him in.
Plenty of time for enough. Plenty enough.
And they are. So that's the beauty of having a couple of guys in there that are maximising performance out of the car. So now they're just waiting for fuel. The wheels are the easy part.
Coming up on 8 seconds. 5, 2. Go, 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 go.
Standard stop.
Okay, buddy, the track could be quite busy when you rejoin, so just be ready for that. There's lots of cars passing at the moment, they're all for position, and hopefully we should pop out at the back of that train.
So remember that he's now in a very different sequence. Mark that in your mind for later in the day, but he is in fresh air, and that'll be part of the reason why they pitted him there. Someone's car didn't sound too flashy in the background there either.
Andre Heimgartner, Super Black, were really the only car in the field slightly out of sequence by starting yourself for the first stint. Talk us through your first stint.
Yeah, we had nothing to lose. You know, you're starting last, so you can't exactly go backwards. But yeah, it was all right. Got a few positions, but just got held up there by Steve a fair bit. The thing seems to be pretty good in a straight line, but that's another story. So it's all good. Ant's a good driver. Hill could put in a good stint, and hopefully slowly move forward throughout the day.
You had those braking issues yesterday. They rectified today.
Yeah, we've fixed all that, so the car's good now, and we just need to get on with it, and we'll be right.
Thanks, Andre.
No, just thanks.
Dean Canto is hustling here. He's in 6th place. That's Chris Pither ahead of him in car 34, the Kiwi, who subbed for the injured David Wall at the Australian Grand Prix races this year. And he's gapped. He's been able to gap Russell Ingall, Dean Canto. Look at this dive under brakes at turn 1. Canto will get it done. His dad is watching at home. He's due to have a big knee reconstruction, Rocky. And he would be frustrated with not being here. Lock up for Pither.
And Ingall in behind them, followed by Tony D'Alberto. And just passing the 30-minute mark in this race. For those that aren't regularly in the saddle, right about now, you're just starting to remember how hard it is, how hot it is, how much concentration is required. And so for guys like Rusty out there, for Russell and some of those, Dean Canto's not doing a lot of race mileage at the moment. This is the real challenging phase of the race. And very often, for example, when you run at Bathurst, it's your second stint where you're much more in phase. You sweat a lot less, you're mentally relaxed. But these opening stints are often very hard work mentally and physically.
Let's do a full lap here for Team 18 with Sebastian Bourdais. We'll come back to that because we're focusing on this, obviously, this battle. Webby ahead of Owen, that's key. 3rd place, 97 ahead of the 5. Back with Bourdais here, riding with the Frenchman.
Interrupt these 640 odd dancing horses in the background and just want you to focus on the footwork here, because Bourdais, as a frequent regular IndyCar driver, is left foot braking in this car. Remember, 27 Grand Prix starts for Toro Rosso. Spent a huge portion of his career as a left foot braker, and therefore is in the minority in the V8 supercar field, with most are right foot braking. It's interesting because the two different styles often create different issues to deal with for the drivers. So I haven't heard of any compatibility issues between he and Lee this weekend, but often they get a very different read out of the car because of the way they turn and brake. Very different technique, and it changes the way in which the car pitches and rolls. Now here we go, back into the pit lane here, and this is a stop for Stephen Richards, car number 888, sharing with Craig Lowndes.
Just as Mark advised me, please, you're getting fuel and tyres, mate. Going to be a little while. Make sure we don't spin those rear wheels. Use that lead in nicely. Yeah, let's do a screen, please, Jen.
Calmly into position. Calm radio message. Reminder not to wheel spin.
Okay, mate, all the tyres are on. I'm not sure how much longer we got left. There's nothing in pit lane, mate. We're just waiting on the fuel. 5 seconds left. Clear. You're all clear, mate. All clear.
Okay, mate.
Huge amount of mileage for Stephen Richards.
Reset your bar as advised. You've got a full tank of fuel here, mate. You got I'm going to passing now and car 7 laps down approaching.
Actively racing in the Carrera Cup and successfully. Bathurst winner in 2013, and that's a feat that he achieved twice before that. So massive amount of mileage, very calm and composed, very calm on the radio, and so that was all exactly as per textbook. The car couldn't have been better positioned millimetre by millimetre in its pit box there.
And like Tony D'Alberto in the 47, he's another guy on double duty this weekend. Richo is campaigning in the Carrera Cup, Tony's in the GTs, and so is David Russell. David Russell driving a Porsche in Carrera Cup this weekend too.
David Ward, just watching the 34 now on screen. You guys chose to go with a very different strategy. The only one to sort of come on lap 1, I think, to get some fuel and change those tyres and get that first stop out of the way. You needed to separate from the 33.
Yeah, exactly. We started behind the other car, so we're all about doing something a little bit different. And we tried this strategy earlier in the year. It was working great at Winton until we had the double stack. So we thought we'd do that, get our own clear air, and to offset ourselves to our team car as well.
So he's probably not too far away from having to think about stopping again with the fuel, but obviously the tyres play a big part in this. He's been on these tyres for a long time compared to some of the others around him.
Yeah, exactly. We've got track position back now, but obviously you've got to choose your battles a little bit because the guys are on a bit of fresher rubber. So yeah, we'll hopefully do that well and keep continuing on.
Well, good improvement up the field so far, mate. Good luck.
Cheers, guys.
Co-driver Chris Pither figured in the top 10 regularly in practice. He's doing a good job here at the moment, holding out Tony D'Alberto and then Russell Ingall, but it's Dumbrell leading the way by 6.2 seconds from Jono Webb and Steve Owen.
Everyone's had a chance to traverse pit lane. They've had a chance to throw on some tyres. They've had a chance to put in some United E85, and one team have even done a driver change, that being 111. We still haven't seen Ollie Gavin reappear from the pits. What a shame after driving their way up through those 2 qualifying races. They barely even had any track time on Friday. But how good is this battle in the mid-pack right now? It's great seeing Chris Pither back in the hands of a competitive car. We know the Volvos are strong. Same goes Tony D'Alberto, to be honest. 2 guys who would love to be on the grid next year with full-time drives in the V8 Supercars, one way or another. Don't think for a second that this isn't an audition for these 2. Dandenong Road under brakes for Tony D. Cam Waters trying to make up a few more spots. They decided to sit a bit longer in the pits and put a bit more fuel in. They're going on a bit of a different strategy. And well might they. Sometimes it can be a big risk to have 2 teammates near the front of the race running the same strategy.
You're doing what we need you to do. If you can clear Pither, we're looking really good.
Adam DeVore and the rest of those crew at Pro Drive Racing Australia just nurturing Cameron Waters. He's made the move. Last year he drove with Jack Perkins, technically still in the same establishment at Pro Drive, then Ford Performance Racing. We're right on board with him on the roof, the hamburger cam. He's got Russell Ingall ahead. This will test him. We haven't had to see him pass too many cars in the Dunlop Series this year because, to be honest, he's just been dominating from the very get-go, but he's doing a good job fighting inside the top 10 right now.
Hi, Caruso. Just looking on, strategies play a huge part in this race. I think it's even more difficult to call it than Bathurst sometimes. Dean Fiore doing a good job. Looking like you guys are heading towards that 54 mark. Next stop, you're looking at jumping in?
Look, it's a funny race, this old one, because we haven't had much happening out there yet, but there's a few different cars on different strategies, and we're trying to just, I guess, get as much clean air for Dino as we possibly can. So unless something happens with the safety car in the next... Before that happens, yeah, that sort of looks like the plan at the moment, to be honest.
It's worked pretty good. He's made some track position, absolute key at this race. So far, that's working all right.
Well, we'll find out by about, 161 laps if it works.
Something like that.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see a smile back on their face. And they shared a podium together, Caruso and Fiore. For Fiore, it was his first in the series at last year's Gold Coast 600. D'Alberto, he's not letting Pither get away here. Going back on board with Jono Webb. He's managed to fight his way up to second. And at the moment, he sits 6 seconds adrift of Paul Dumbrell. Webb once again proving his worth. Amazing that he's still got the form, even though he doesn't have a full-time drive in 2015.
Chris Pither in 5th position continues to hold this freight train up because Tony D'Alberto's there, and the 6 is in the mix. Right behind them, Cameron Waters.
Yeah, so it's interesting from a strategic standpoint that ProDrive put some more fuel into car number 6 for Cam Waters, but he finds himself having to work very hard in this stint because he's got a lot of traffic. So down the inside there is D'Alberto on Pither. Nice move, and up the inside, can he see him? And he gets through nicely. So he's had to work very hard in this stint. Cam Waters, he went through on Fiore. Well, first of all, he had to deal with car 9, so that's Alex. Had to use a fair bit of the traffic island to get that one done at 9. Then he had to deal with Fiore. Been a busy boy. If he's on a passing bonus, he should be up for some extra pocket money. There he goes on Russell Ingall, and I thought that it was going to be a harder task to get by Russell, but that wasn't the case. Now here he is sliding up the inside of Chris Pither at turn 2. And the other issue there is that you've got to use a lot of everything to be able to do that. Wow. How'd you like to be a valve spring?
That was car 9, Alex Davison moving by Dean Fiore for 9th place. Fiore driving the Nissan Altima, you can see in the background there. Russell Ingall makes the move on Chris Pither. They drag race down the chute here at Sandown International Raceway, and the Enforcer enforces the pass. Look at Alex Davison trying to come for the run as well. Ahead of them, Cameron Waters is right on the Super Cheap Auto Racer, the 21-year-old from Mildura. We saw a replay of those passes a moment ago. He's driven with some real smarts here today, the Dunlop Series Championship leader.
Ahead ended on lap 2, so he has very poor tyres. Thank you.
Day there as well, just menacing. Look down the inside at the end of the back straight. It's quite a train of cars here, isn't it? It's intense out there. Luke Youlden there too in the Freightliner entry. That was Dean Canto in the foreground. Here we are with D'Alberto, and he's got Cam Waters sweating on him now. So this would then complete all of the cars in that key group that Waters came out behind. Mowing down hats and also grabbing the inside of that curb there at high risk of damaging the rim or the inside edge of the tyre wall. Alex Davison down the inside of Chris Pither at turn 1. Just got it stopped, but a good move. Alex has had a drive of his dad's Formula 5000 car this year, which I think has subsequently been sold.
Tim Edwards, it was important that you split car 5 and car 6. Cam Waters a little bit more fuel in his car, which has dropped him down the order a bit, but great pace and passing plenty of cars.
Yeah, well, he's doing what we need him to do, which is great. So I think if we just clear Tony now, then he's looking pretty good.
Neil suggested he might get a bonus for the amount of cars passed. I'm not sure if you'll agree with that, but also Dean Canto doing a sensational job in P4.
Yeah, I mean, they're all doing what they need to do for us at the moment. So, you know, certainly it's going okay at the moment.
Still a long way to go and you're remaining calm.
Correct, there's a long way to go.
Well, guys, just a little update on the 222. Still in the garage. They're working feverishly on the right front there. The update from Nick Percat was that the steering clevis mounted to the upright actually failed when Gavin got on the brakes down at turn 1. So repairs going on feverishly. They want to get that car back out.
And you hit the nail on the head earlier, Greg, when you talked about the pounding the cars get on the curbing round here. So they spend a huge proportion of the lap just flying through the air. It's interesting if you divide up the total number of 11 corners at Sydney Motorsport Park and the total number of 13 corners at Sandown, so contrasting the two circuits that we went to last and this one today, you spend pretty much exactly half the amount of time actually in the turn here at Sandown. So it emphasises the nature of the point and squirt type racetrack this one is. But along the way, you spend a huge amount of time flying through the air on the curbs. And there's the pass. So he's done that job nicely. He has earned his dollars this afternoon with that little sequence. That was a lot of hard work for Cam Waters. Came out in an air gap, but then found himself behind a trail of about 5 or 6 cars, and he systematically ticked all of them off and has now got a nice clear run.
You've got 5 seconds to the next car in front. Closing that gap gets us onto the podium. Keep doing it.
There you go. So the information in the background is key, and Dumbrell's got the gap out now to 5.5 seconds. So we're back here with Alex Davison on the run down to turn 2.
Russell looked like he had a little slide off one. Alex is close here. Remember, this team, the Erebus team, were the winners in WA. Will Davison was so pleased with that breakthrough. They've had a difficult start to the weekend. They weren't so pleased on Friday, but they worked their way into a good starting position for the 500 during those qualifying races for the grid yesterday. Ingle holding his own here in 7th spot. Dumbrell leads by 5.5 seconds over Jonathan Webb. Good job by Webby before to make that move on Owen. Steve Owen in 3rd in car 5, then Dean Canto and Cameron Waters.
That cone marker had, I think, Sebastian Bourdais and Cam Waters' signature on it. So it looked pretty ordinary on the side of the racetrack in need of a Band-Aid. No surprise to some extent that Alex Davison going so well. He's had a lot of experience. Year 2 with his brother, 12th Enduro campaign. Very highly regarded in his time in Porsche as a factory driver and his success in that category here as well. Luke Youlden, car number 14, and we've got car number 34. Luke, he's off the road down there at 1. He had a little bit of brake confidence trouble down there early in the weekend on Friday. He was having trouble getting the car stopped. That's Pither in the lane there in 34.
Pump your brakes, pump, pump, pump.
A huge amount of fluid underneath that car. Sometimes just water they're using to top it up.
Nice and easy. Go. Go, go,
top
go,
up
go.
the driver
Watch your speed.
drink system.
The fluid did look fairly clear.
Now, Webby's actually closed that gap down to 4.9 seconds now. So Paul Dumbrell, Jonathan Webb. And meantime, Alex Davison is continuing to gnaw away at the back of Russell Ingall's bumper bar at turn 10.
He's doing a good job in the fight for 7th place. Alex Davison keeps the pressure on, but it's Dumbrell leading the way from Webb and Owen. Oh, and Alex will get it done here. Drag race. The E63 Merc versus the HRT Commodore. And Davison's been pushing hard, Chad, and he gets it done.
Would have seen that at Sandown a couple of years ago. Haven't the Mercedes engines improved? Brought that package in-house, and Benny Clemenco's team have found new power to work with. Exciting to see. A couple of battles starting to form, including this man who's been busy pretty much all race long. Sebastian Bourdais, so good to see him back in Australia. 2-time winner of a trophy that he would like to win back when he get back to the Gold Coast. Dan Weldon Memorial Trophy that he won sharing with Jamie Whincup, and now shares his car with Lee Holdsworth.
I made the point with Neil before, he's just such a polished pro, isn't he? I mean, the way, super smooth with the applications, the inputs, the way that he drives, and his track record, his history has been unbelievable. I mean, winner at the Daytona 24-hour, ex-Formula 1 driver, he's got the lot.
Hey, well, Well, Davison, I was speaking to your brother Alex on Friday, and he was really keen to get in the car. Hasn't had a lot of laps, as many as he would like, but you guys have done a pretty sensational job so far today, and he just blew past Russell Ingall there, so he must be pretty pleased with the way he's going.
Yeah, he's put me under pressure. You know, he's doing such a good job this week, and for the limited running he's done this year, he's on fire. So a couple of the guys obviously pitted earlier, so he was just struggling to get round those guys, although his tyres were fresher. But yeah, he's put some great moves on now, and we're in this, so the pressure's on. Just hope we can bring home a nice clean day for the whole Erebus crew. They've been working so hard. Yeah, I'm going to do a pretty long stint to the finish here, and it's all to play for. We've got track position, and that's key around here.
Yeah, we know the 54 laps is get the minimum out of the way. He's doing a great job. He could stay in there obviously a bit longer the way he's going at the moment, but everyone's sort of looking towards, I suppose, your pit stops heading towards that 54 lap mark.
Yeah, that's right. I think you'll see a lot of the guys do that unless we get a safety car in the next 8 or 9 laps, which will mean the co-drivers will be in for another 30 or so. But I've got to get my helmet on now, get ready to go.
Good on you.
Cheers, thanks.
You can see from the onboard pictures that sticker in the very centre of Alex's helmet, top of the visor. Both he and Will honouring Justin Wilson, who sadly passed away in an IndyCar race very recently.
Yeah, they've been telling everyone to come down and pick up a sticker if they wanted to chuck it on their helmet to honour Justin Wilson, as we have another one of our internationals heading back out, Oliver Gavin, trying to complete his 54 laps. Will brought up a really good point there. If we get a safety car in the next 10 laps before that 54 magic marker comes out, which is what happened last year, it will absolutely change the game. We'll see the co-drivers have to go for another stint.
Jono Webb keeping the pressure on here, keeping that bid to move forward and get closer to Paul Dumbrell going. He's doing a ripping job.
It's just picked up the pieces from last year and proving once again, I mean, he had that small skirmish with Bourdais, but proving that he is still very much in touch. Who knows, maybe he might even just take over the full-time drive of this car next year. They do need a driver, and we know that he's very capable.
Maybe a little frustrated behind there at the moment, wanting to get that done. There's the gap. Dumbrell to Webb in second. So it's a 4.8 second lead, Paul Dumbrell to Jonathan Webb, and Webb just trying to clear the 33 here.
The other thing that's interesting is that there's not a lot of pace out there at the moment. That track is very slippery. So for the leader on the last lap, it was 1 minute 11.2. For Webby, it was 1 minute 11.5. For Owen, 11.5. 11.5 also for Canto, but a 10.9 for Waters. So Waters continues to be very, very quick. Car 22 it is. Russell Ingall in the lane. And stays in because he hasn't reached the minimum requirement of 54 laps. He's topping up his esky.
Hey, fellas. Finish up. Hey, Russell, you all
dry ice in there for Russell
mate.
to continue his afternoon tour.
Oh, look at this. It's game on here. The 17, the 15, and coming into the mix, car 2, Warren Luff. He's drawn right into it and manages to get by.
Bit of bump drafting,
wasn't there?
Marcus knows all about that. So going back to that point, the track's slippery and it's pretty slow out there at the moment.
Yeah, we just caught the tail end of that shot there. I wondered if Paul Dumbrell ran wide at turn 1. It sort of threw me for a moment, and you can see the gaps come down a little, sliding off the curb, Jono Webb.
I think Ingall went a lap down on that stop as well, which has got me somewhat puzzled. And Oliver Gavin's also talking about a problem at the front of that car again. Here we go with the replay of what happened to Dumbrell. He went wide down at turn 1 and lost probably 3-4 seconds maybe in that process. And they're going to bring car number 222 back in as well for Oliver Gavin. So there's something rattling around at the front of that car that's not to his satisfaction. So Jamie Whincup in the back of the garage preparing to get his gear on to start his stint very shortly. Great drive yesterday. Started from the pole position. Little mistake there from Dumbrell. Awkward track conditions. Remember I spoke about it when we were down on the grid earlier, the fact that the wind had stayed up, the temperature's higher than in the last couple of days. I heard a little cue from Mark Dutton earlier about changing the incoming tyre set starting pressures to deal with the slightly different conditions today. So I think there's a few of them are out there at the moment just having a little tippy toe. Keep an eye on Waters, though. He's also down in 5th position with very good car speed. He was the only one on the last lap that was actually in the 10s of the key group. This is Steve Owen. He's in 3rd on the road at the moment.
Back with David Russell, 13th, ahead of Luke Youlden here.
Brad Jones, it's about to get very busy because we're about to hit that magical number where the main drivers are about to get in the car, or can get in the car.
Yeah, look, I think there'll be a bit of a flurry when we get to 55, but, you know, it's been a bit of a tough day for us so far, so we're definitely not where we wanted to be, but still a lot of racing to go, so we'll see what happens.
We know that you can always pull something out of the bag in terms of strategy. We can rely on your team for that. Can we expect something different from you guys this weekend?
Well, the weather's not going to help us at all today. So, look, you know, Luke's struggling a little bit inside the car. We're just trying to tune it as best we can. And, you know, with Jonesy, he started a fair way back, and I think Macca's banging along okay. So it's just, you know, the race falls into a pattern. This is a simple circuit, but it's very hard to pass on. And that's why you're seeing so many people go for fuel early. So still got a bit to do before it's all washed out.
Thanks, Brad. Good luck.
Thank you.
He's still trying, though, Luke in the background to clear the 15. And David Russell sits in 13th place at the moment. Warren Luff's been able to clear them in 12th, and so's Marcus Ambrose ahead. And it's Dumbrell leading by 2.8 seconds over Jonathan Webb now. Steve Owen is 3rd, and Dean Canto rounds out the top 4 at the Wilson Security Sandown 500. We'll continue to ride here with Luke Youlden, Chad.
What a great job he's done as a co-driver. Had a surprisingly small amount of race starts for a man who's been around the sport for so long, with just the 36 odd starts, but so reliable when we get to this time of the year. Had the front row, well, actually pole position. He started from pole position a couple of years ago, driving with Shane van Gisbergen. And again, here to do the job with the Freightliner team. This battle's still going on. It's Richards, but with Pedersen. Pedersen knows that he's got a gun behind him. Former fellow countryman, I suppose you could say, but this is Richo's hometown now, Melbourne, and he gets that move made. Under brakes, Pedersen just opened the door slightly for him under brakes.
That was for 19th spot. Ahead of them is young Macaulay Jones in the 21. He's had a very solid weekend so far, hasn't he?
Stayed out of trouble. New co-driver for Dale Woodshed with Pither last year. This will test him a little bit. We'll see how he goes with Stephen Richards breathing down his neck. Macaulay can bring this thing back in one piece, hand it over at lap 54 to the main game boy. I think he'd be pretty happy with that.
Gaps now 2.3 seconds. Jono Webb, we saw that moment for Paul Dumbrell before at turn 1. Good presence of mind from PD. He knew he was in trouble, but didn't venture all the way off the road. And with Webb being able to clear the 33 finally, he's starting to close that gap down. So we'll keep an eye on it at the moment. 2.3 seconds to the race leader. This combo, they've been very good. Confidence is back, we said, prior to the start of the race for Shane van Gisbergen, and it's clear. It's even reflected in the way Jono Webb's driving.
PD would be disappointed. I mean, he would have loved to have just gone through this race with an absolute 100% perfection record. Just the tiniest of errors as in comes the Nissan Altima. Still with Fiore at the wheel.
27 seconds.
Strange that you pit this close to the chance to get rid of your co-driver. I guess that means they just really trust in Fiore.
All the wheels are done.
It's because he's quick.
We're waiting on the fuel now.
So he's made a whole bunch of spots.
Okay, guys, we're getting close.
Relative to his starting position.
Yeah, all good.
Primary driver's getting ready in the background.
Do not spin.
So once they get past lap 54, they can get in.
Straight the fast lane.
And then for some of them, the fuel window closes not long after that, in fact. So for Dumbrell, the race leader, whose margin is down to just 2 seconds now, it'll happen sometime after 54, but it has to happen sometime before 58, because that's when it'll run out of fuel. So the reason why they left Dean in the car is he's got really good pace. And so that gives them the opportunity to play the game of flexibility. That was a little bit close then with Cam Waters. Remember, they are fighting for position.
And how's the interesting scenario here? He's closing in on Dean Canto ahead of him, and then the next target is Steve Owen. So that's A fascinating one that we'll follow. We'll keep a close eye on how that will all be managed. A good pace from Cam Waters. Last time, or best lap we've seen from him is a 1:10.0, and he's had a couple of tenths compared to Steve Owen. Good pace in car 6 from the Dunlop Series leader. 1.8 seconds now. Dumbrell to Jonathan Webb. Primary drivers are ready to play their part, to do their bit here at the Sandown 500. Craig Lowndes gets ready. You saw the championship leader a moment ago. Here is Shane van Gisbergen.
He's in a very good position, and that's the reason for the thumbs up and the grin there, because his co-driver, Jonathan Webb's got the gap now to Paul Dumbrell down to just 1.7 seconds. There it is, confirmed on screen for you. So Dumbrell's struggling at the back end of this stint. He hasn't recovered from that little off down there at 1. I wonder whether or not he put a little mark on a tyre in the process down there. Jonathan Webb just nestling himself into the car. Somebody straight line 2 and 3 then. I think it was Waters. So that's put him back in the traffic. He's lost a little bit of ground to Dean Canto. So just a little blemish on what's been a great run this afternoon for Cam Waters. So no time for motocrossing down there at 2 and 3. 1.6 seconds the gap, Dumbrell to Webb. That'll put a big focus on that pit stop between those two teams. Here's the replay of what happened. So he's had to take a straight line, evasive run down through there. And anytime you see these big 1.5 ton cars flying through the air, you're opening yourself to the possibility of damage. Does evil things to the front bumper assembly and the splitter and the radiator supports and all of the underbody suspension. Here it is. Bang, and the thump that goes through the seat and the jolt you get in the neck is not pretty.
That was full stadium truck style.
It was. He just went in there too quick, couldn't control it. So now he finds himself all bottled up in this traffic. That's awkward. And he's not too far away. Let me see, his fuel window closes at 67. So, in fact, he's got a little bit longer to go on this tyre set, depending on how they choose to play this. Once they get past 54, they tick that co-driver scenario, and then they'll make the decision on when they pit him based on the traffic around him and the pace that he's got. But this is hurting his cause at the moment for a position in the top 3. Lunge. Dean saw him and was courteous.
Wow, that was in hot and very courteous from Dean Canto, who loses a spot to the 34 in the process.
But lives to fight another day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, had he turned in there, that was going to be contact.
Maybe the smart play from Dean Canto with over 100 laps still to go here in the 500.
Remember that this little battle that they've got going here with Dean Fiore. Dean's got fresh tyres on that car, and he's got to do a whole stint here. So there it is again from the jib down there at turn 9. Gives you a good idea of just exactly how much space there is, and there's not a lot of it, so a lot of curb used in that process. Car number 21 on screen here. This is Macaulay Jones, V8 Supercar Championship racing debut. And not a bad job for young Macca, because he's not terribly far behind car 8, being driven by Andrew Jones, nor car 14, Luke Gilden. Luke is 13th, Andrew is 15th, Macaulay is 18th.
He's really started to come on strong in the Dunlop Series as well. When we got to Townsville a few rounds ago, that marked 12 months for him in the Dunlop Series. He made his debut the year prior at that round, so he's really starting to get some good miles under his belt. The one goes wide at 1, and that's all Jono Webb needs. He's got him in his sights now. Dumbrell struggling, yeah.
They're going to bring him in. Picked up a radio message. He's skating everywhere, so his tyres perhaps have overinflated. So that was it in the background. There's a fresh set of boots, and it'll be a driver change here. Jamie Whincup on standby. Race winner yesterday. Shane van Gisbergen on standby. It's going to light up here big time, folks. So in 97, they'll mirror precisely what 1 does. And I think car 9 will be coming in as well. So you're going to see a lot of stuff unfold in a hurry. There'll be congestion, confusion. He's got that margin right down now, Jonathan Webb. That's been a great stint. He should be very proud of that. He's right on the back of Paul Dumbrell on the run in. So very, very good stint for Jonathan Webb.
Just get your helmet out cool soon. Change that driver light for me, please. Adjust your bar and bias, and I want you neutral the box here, please, mate.
Right there, Whitey. Be clear on the drop. I think you'll be clear on the drop. Just waiting for
Cam
fuel.
Waters has assumed the lead in car 6. Owen out, Winterbottom in.
Waiting for fuel. Waiting for fuel.
There's a busy pit lane for you. Canto out, Reynolds in. Whincup departs. Actually made a little bit of ground. It'll depend on how much fuel went in. There was about a 1 second difference in their fueling in the last stop.
Almost there, mate. So probably another 6. Not for radio, yeah. Go, 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 go.
Confirming they've got comms. Good departure there also for Reynolds. Tim Slade's jumped into 47, replacing Tony D'Alberto. That's a great start by Tony. Garth Tander gets into car number 2.
I want to check it, but it did look like the 5 was stationary for quite some time, so they might have put quite a gulp of fuel in the 5 relative to some of the others. Here comes Waters now.
Yeah, so I'm seeing 89 litres of fuel in car 1 and 96 litres of fuel in car 5, Winterbottom.
Now, please. Radio and drink store now.
Chaz Mostert on standby.
Have a tear off. Duct is clean, Camo, duct is clean.
So it's window net down, seat insert out because of the difference in the driver frames. Then Chaz using those fluoro seatbelt tangs so that he can locate the knuckle. Establishes comms. There's a lot to do. There's not a lot of breathing space, is there? It's big pressure. It looks easy from the outside. It's anything but when you're in the heat of the moment.
And they've come out, look at this, ahead of the other car. So perhaps less fuel for that one relative to Mark Winterbottom. That's significant. Mostert is ahead now.
74 litres, so compared to car number 5, it's about 20 litres difference, 22 litres difference between those two cars.
Clear, clear.
Lowndes taking over from Stephen Richards.
Okay, mate. Cold green tyres, cold green tyres.
So they've got green tyres on that car, meaning brand new. So Craig immediately goes to the left-hand mirror to check what's coming on down the straight. And you've got to be very careful you don't pick a braking reference that is relative to your normal stopping position down there, because on a green tyre that has had no mileage at all, it's very, very easy to overstep the mark and fly off the road.
So here comes car 1, Jamie Whincup. Race leader. Look at the gap he has now to Jonathan Webb. Now it's been taken over by Shane Van Gisbergen, that car 97. So they're a lot closer when Webby pitted, of course.
Yeah, Steve Hallam and his group have chosen to put a bit more fuel in 97. So it was 100 litres. Well, not chosen. It depends on the strategy from earlier on. But so 100 litres of fuel there for him. So this gives us an indication of where your favourite drivers are in the field. Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Winterbottom, Reynolds, Ingle, Slade, Davison.
Lee Holdsworth to 9th, ahead of Garth Tander. Here's Cam Waters. Nice, congratulations from the team. There were a couple of moments, but the Dunlop Series leader on balance, look at him. Big, deep breath, the pressure. Gets the congrats from Tim Edwards, team boss. And it's been handed back over to Chaz Mostert now.
Got a little fright though, didn't he, down at turn 2. They all did. Quite a few people were having a real battle at the back end of that stint, including the race leader, Paul Dumbrell. So now you'll see a rhythm step in this race as well, as the regular drivers who are just at one and stitched into these machines in the way in which they drive them Paul Dumbrell watching after his stint, where he was a very busy man.
So Paul Dumbrell can catch his breath, and that's because his partner in crime leads the way. Jamie Whincup from Shane Van Gisbergen and Chaz Mostert with Winterbottom rounding out the top 4 at the 500. And a very good job as well, Chad, by David Reynolds and Dean Canto in particular so far. They're in the mix here, aren't they?
Absolutely. They'll be in the mix all Pertec Endurance Cup long. We saw them finish inside, well, on the podium at Bathurst a few years ago. We've seen them win a Pertec Endurance Cup race, and once again at Sandown, they're proving that they are fast inside the top 5, but we ride on board with the race leader. This has worked out beautifully for Jamie Whincup. It's the scenario that he wanted. Not only is car number 1 in the lead with a good lead, but it's not even one of the Fords that's in second. They've got Mostert and Winterbottom back in 3rd and 4th, 17 seconds down the road. The lack of a safety car throughout that first stint was exactly what the doctor ordered for Red Bull Racing Australia, and that has worked out beautifully. They even managed to open up a few more seconds in that pit stop sequence over Van Gisbergen.
That was for position, Chad. Slade against Russell Ingall. That's for 6th spot. And again, the Super Cheap Auto racer keeps showing speed. It's been that way right across since Friday, since they rolled it out of the truck.
They've been fast all weekend long. They've been the leading Walkinshaw car out of the 4 that they've got here this weekend. Holdsworth was quick in qualifying, but the black garage has been showing the red garage up a little this weekend. In the lack of James Courtney here, watching at home, no doubt.
He's watching. I've encouraged him to send some cheeky texts and wind Neil up along the way, so we'll do that.
Would have been a slight chance for reminiscing as Ingall saw the Super Cheap livery go by.
Yeah. It's been great for Russell. He's thrived on the opportunity to get back behind the wheel and is sitting in 7th place at the moment. Will Davison behind him. Then Holdsworth and Garth Tander completing the 10. But we have still 100 laps to come.
How good does it sound? 100 laps to go. That's why we love the Enduros. A long way from home. Tim Slade in a beautiful position inside the top 10. He'll be absolutely thrilled with the drive that Tony D'Alberto's given him. Tony D also becoming a dad recently in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, really cool. He was busy at Sydney Motorsport Park, wasn't he? He sort of flew in, did a couple of things and quickly dashed home. I saw him at the test at Winton in the lead up to this round. He was chuffed, really happy. And his weekend in the GTs has gone well in the lead up to this.
Yeah, driving with Grant Denyer, and now his other co-driver for the weekend, Tim Slade, is at the helm. We've got the 3 big Fords, line astern, Mostert, Winterbottom, Reynolds over the top.
I've just got a message from Courtney. Can we please stay on my in-car so it feels like I'm there? Good on you. Glad you're with us, and hope you're on the mend, mate. Back to the 2 Pepsi Max entries. And then Canto, or David Reynolds, I should say. So Jamie Whincup enjoys a 5.7 second lead over Shane Van Gisbergen now. Then it's these two, Mostert and Winterbottom. The teammates are battling. And then Reynolds 5th.
And on this lap, they were about line astern with Whincup and Van Gisbergen in terms of pace. So all recording very similar times. In the low 10 range at the moment, Rusty. So fresh rubber and familiar drivers just picking up the pace to the tune of a second or so.
Just love the intensity of this. And we've still got 100 laps to go.
Oh, it's a full-blown sprint race, and it has been now for a while. They're driving every single lap like it's a quali lap. Both drivers as much as they can muster.
There's a comparo there. We talked about what the drivers or the teams took on fuel-wise at the last stop.
So there's a 17-second gap 1st to 4th. That's Whincup to Winterbottom. And the sandwich contains Van Gisbergen and Mostert. And there is Van Gisbergen. So we'll just keep a bit of it, just mark that, think about that gap, and then we'll keep an eye on it. We'll watch lap speed here as well. So 11.2 on the last lap for Whincup. So he had a bad lap. Might have been traffic. 10.3 for Van Gisbergen. 10.4 Mostert. 10.6. Correction, 10.5 for Winterbottom.
Yeah, and Jono Webber just watching on Shane Van Gisbergen and getting the job done out there, mate. Great stint. You had a little bit of a carrot there at the end you were working in on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we got off the reasonable start, just chipped away. I made a mistake earlier, lost that gap to the two guys in front, but sort of hunted them down bit by bit. Once I put a set of tyres on, the car was really hooked up, so pushed on, got past Steve Owen, and yeah, had the carrot at the end there with, PD was pushing on, making a couple of mistakes, so just try to close that gap for Shane.
It looks like you enjoy it, mate. Nice job considering the lack of miles this year. Good job.
Thank you.
We saw a couple of big, deep breaths when he got out of the car. Was that because you were exhausted or because it was just a sense of relief to get those laps out of the way?
It was pretty hot out there, so I was pretty happy when I got out and got a cool drink with me. But yeah, it was good. We kind of did a bit different with the strategy, I think. So I had to pass a few cars. So yeah, had a bit of fun out there.
Neil Crompton suggested that you may approach Tim Edwards for a bonus per car that you passed.
I don't know. I have to speak to Tim about that. But just happy to hand it back to Chaz in an okay position. Hopefully he brings it home okay.
Really great job for your debut here at the Sandown 500. Well done.
Thank you.
Testament to the athleticism of both those guys. Both Jono and Cam Waters look quite fresh considering how full on that stint was.
Now, of the top 4 runners on the last lap, it was Whincup that was the fastest. He was a 10th quicker than anybody else. And that gap from 1st to 4th remains at 17 seconds. This is going to be an intense battle between Mostert and Winterbottom, and we've seen that several times this year. And remember, it's not just about the Wilson Security Sandown 500, it's about the championship as well. And there's 174 points between the two men that were on screen just a moment ago. So car number 99 on screen here is James Moffat, and he's tucked in behind Jason Bright. Difficult day yesterday for them at Team BOC. They had car that wasn't to their satisfaction in car 8 earlier in the weekend. Then they started to make some ground. Then Andrew had a very good stint in it. And in that run yesterday, unfortunately got tangled up just down here, in fact, on the run down to turn 9 with Alex Premer. And then pretty substantial damage. They had to replace a lot of gear around the front of that car, radiator and all of the junk that surrounds it.
Tony D'Alberto, mate, a solid effort, the 47 in a really good spot at the moment. You guys pretty happy with where the car is, and you are probably very comfortable in the car for that stint.
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable. I got a good start, which is half the battle here. So I got off the line well, and the car looked after its tyres fairly well. Probably didn't have the outright pace to start with when the tyres were green, but they held him good. So Tim's been happy with the car for the last 2 days, so he's in there now. It's his job to bring it home.
You've had a busy old weekend, mate, double stinting with some GT racing as well, so you're feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right, but I must admit, when they said box this lap, I was pretty happy to get out and have a rest.
Good on you, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
Paul Dumbrell, once again, phenomenal effort in the first stint of this race. Handed the car over to Jamie Whincup in P1 position, although Jonathan Webb kept you honest at the end there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think our car was quite strong early in both the stints we did, but a bit more tyre life would have been nice. So I think everyone was struggling out there. It's quite warm today, which I think has probably caught a fair few people out, including us. But hey, we'll keep on charging on, and hopefully the car comes to us, or the track comes to us later in the day.
Thanks, Peter. Good luck with the rest of it.
Cheers.
Hey, Sebastian Bourdais, mate, grabbing a well-earned drink. You're pretty hot in the old girl.
Yeah, it's definitely hot in the car, and I was always behind someone, so it doesn't make it cooler. Yeah, just a bit harder than I wish I would have been, and took a bad start and set the wrong tone. I got stuck behind the Nissan and couldn't get by and hurt the tires both times. We tried to swing by in the pit cycle, but that didn't work out. So Lee's still, running pretty strong, and hopefully he can make some headways and move to the front.
Well, it was good to see you in the car, mate. You've obviously got some valuable laps now, and we will be seeing you very soon at Bathurst.
Thank you.
Sebastian Bourdais, Formula One sports car, champ car hero, and this is his co-driver, Lee Holdsworth. Now, you may recall that if you were watching the coverage a little bit earlier, we focused on the notion that the Frenchman is a left foot braker. So here we are with Lee, and here's an example of right foot braking. So completely different style, and left foot brakers tend to burn just a little bit more fuel because there's a simultaneous moment where they're dragging both the brake and opening the throttle percentage at the same time. And they very often have a very different read on the car. The way the car pitches and the way you carry the brake, that's Lee just making a little adjustment down to the right-hand side there, probably to brake bias on that car. So this is far more traditional than what the majority of the field are doing technique-wise inside the car. Back to the throttle. Whoa, whoa, he's a busy boy. turn 4, carries the brake almost to the apex and then slowly progresses that. In fact, he had to do it twice then. He probably hit it a little early. It slid in the rear, and then there was that moment of hesitation where not much is happening other than his little elbows are flying, trying to catch it, and then back to 100% throttle. So a lot of adjusting going on here. Into the back straight. And there's a huge amount of emphasis on foot skill in this area of the racetrack. Enormous degree of variation in brake pedal pressure to be able to guide the car down there quickly. And the other issue that you need to deal with at Sandown, which I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, is a thing that's described as knock-off. Because the curbs are so aggressive here, it hurts the suspension, rattles the brake system, and it effectively makes the brake pad move back from the brake disc, and then when you go for the brake pedal down there at turn 9, you get a lot of action in the rear of the car and nothing going on up the front.
Question from a viewer using the hashtag V8SC. Justin Pennyfeather says, can you explain why right foot brakers use the clutch on the downshift when obviously you don't need to when you're a left foot braker? And this is a good car to use that discussion point.
Do you want the simple answer?
Yep.
Because they can. Because they've got a foot available. Seriously, there's really, I mean, you can up and downshift without using the clutch, but you probably get a better synchronised downshift by using it. And that's a bit of a moment there for Craig Lowndes. And we'll just focus on this and come back to that other topic. So Craig, easy. That'll be actually a big chance that's knock-off. Exactly what I just described a moment ago, because he was complaining about it this morning when I chatted to him. And it was all rear brake on the run into turn 9. Then you can actually hear it in the background, chat, 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 chat on the rear brakes.
I think that's a technical term, Neil. Dean Canso, the three of the PRA cars are sort of all running line astern at the moment. Were you happy with your stint?
It was okay. It was a bit boring. Sort of out there on my lonesome, but tyres are hurting pretty bad. Doesn't take much to spin them up, so sort of battling a bit there at the end to try and keep it straight. But look, our three cars are 3rd, 4th and 5th, nose to tail at the moment watching them, but not as quick as the front two cars, but you know, it's still a long way to go. We're still tuning it up through the race, a bit of ride height, a few shock clickers, but my day's done and it's up to Dave now.
Enjoy the show. Thanks, Dino.
Cheers, thanks.
Message from expert commentator James Courtney watching on the Gold Coast. Car 6 looks to be working harder than car 5, he reckons, as we continue to watch them battling away here.
There's nothing worse than James Courtney with time on his hands. Just ask Karras.
This is fascinating, this battle between these three cars. Gap is 3.5, Whincup to Van Gisbergen. And then it's these three, Mostert, Winterbottom, Reynolds.
If anything, Chaz is using a fair bit more of all the exit space around here just on that topic. So these guys are absolutely bolted together, aren't they, on the run down to turn 1. Mostert, Winterbottom, Reynolds, all cars from the same factory. Let's have a bit of a look at the workload in here. This is Mark Winterbottom. You see a very different throttle technique there to what you saw with Lee Holdsworth before. So a little bit later on the throttle, and then once he did hit it, he got it to progress to 100% pretty quickly. And off the road, unfortunately, problem here for Pither in car 34.
That enabled Scott Pye and Rick Kelly to come through.
Still 17 seconds, 1st to 4th, by the way. Here's the replay of what happened down at 1. So he wouldn't have been able to see where he's going momentarily, Scotty Pye.
Whincup leading by 3.8 from the Giz.
So in the case of Pither there, the reason that happened was as he snuck the car to the left, it's unweighting the front left tyre. So you can't keep the same sort of level of brake pressure. And I think we're seeing a lot of people out there at the moment, whether it's under brakes or coming off some of the corners, they're just really struggling to find grip. I ducked outside a moment ago. It wasn't because I don't like you, Gregory, but I had 10 seconds out there in the sun to realise that the air is very warm. The track's going to be very slippery out there at the moment.
Highlights of the Wilson Security Sandown 500 so far. Heartbreak for Marcus Ambrose. Difficult start in the Xbox entry. And all the good work they'd done in the qualifying races meant Ambrose virtually had to start working his way through from the back. The good news, Scott Pye is up into 14th place. The pair of them have done a good job. catching it, somehow catching it. Jono Webb under all that pressure from the Pepsi Max entry. Alex Buncombe, they had a problem with that car, not just when he ventured off track here. This was a frightening one. Just a momentary relapse. They reconnected it, and the car took off with Alex Premer. Drama here for Ollie Gavin. And they have fixed that steering issue. He's returned to the track. Flurry of pit stops, important pit stops. Driver change. This was the first one. Andre Heimgartner, who went against the trend of starting with the designated co-driver. He was out. Ant Pedersen got behind the wheel. Few of them getting a little wild over at turn 6, and there was contact. Reindler and car 2. Tim Blanchard in that car is up into 11th place. That was an important pass. The Darrell Lee entry, getting through, getting by Steve Owen. Mostert just reeled them off, continued to move his way through, much to the delight of Chaz Mostert, but it wasn't without incident for the youngster who leads the Dunlop Series. This one, wow. Heart in the mouth moment. We got to the critical number, to lap 54, and then the primary drivers were all set to take over for what is set to be an intense fight to the finish of the Wilson Security Sandown 500, and a couple of interesting plays fuel-wise at this stage of the game. It helped Mostert to leapfrog his teammate in Mark Winterbottom into 3rd place by putting a little less fuel in during those stops.
So just went on to have a look at exactly what the temp is out there at the moment, and 25 degrees at Moorabbin Airport, which as the Seagull flies is only about 4 or 5 k's from here. So this time of the year for there to be that sort of temperature around here is just quite remarkable. The Melburnians won't know what struck them.
These guys have done a good job, Dean Fiore and Michael Caruso, but it's been Fiore at the wheel, and they have moved from well down the order. They started in grid position 21. Right now, Fiore is in 13th place. So they've got speed in that car, as Neil talked about before. Right now, he's under pressure from Scott Pye. They're ahead of Rick Kelly. So the 23 doing a very good job. Chaz Mostert and Mark Winterbottom continue the fight over 3rd place. Car 6 ahead of the 5. Got a couple of car lengths now on David Reynolds. He was a bit closer there before, Davey Reynolds. Look at the intensity between these two. Chaz Mostert to the right of your screen. Mark Winterbottom, series leader, to the left. They're 1 and 2 in the championship.
They're both singing from the same hymn book, aren't they?
It's kind of a relaxed look about Chaz at the wheel, isn't there? Something... Frosty seems to have more of perfection in the way that he approaches it, if that makes sense. Yeah, just a little more tense, maybe.
See the left foot kick just to make sure there's pedal pressure. Little left foot dance again in harmony. These two should go out together.
How good's the stereo sound, though? I love it. Nothing in it last time around. A 1:11.3 I should say, versus a 1:11.19. So you're talking hundredths of a second. Nothing in it between those two. And the 17 finally gets by Dean Fiore. That's for 13th place. Fiore's been doing a ripper job. The 7 is off. And that's at the end of the back straight, down at turn 9. Alex Buncombe.
This will be a safety car if he can't get this thing out. And big chance he can't. Remember, he had difficulties right at the very beginning. There's Cam's race control. And the field prepares to react. Need to bust out my abacus to understand the implications of this.
And it's beached for Alex Buncombe. The Brit, unfortunately, can't rejoin, and that means people are taking advantage of this. Now, this is key because Winterbottom's come in, and it looks like Mostert stayed out.
Yeah, double stacking would hurt. So, don't think there's any great strategy implication other than everyone will just come in and take the opportunity to grab fuel and stop. It ticks one of the compulsory stop boxes. But what you don't want to do is just spend there forever there watching your mate.
And Mostert stays on it here, and look at this. Late decision, Frosty in.
He actually only just in. He nearly clouded that barrier, stopping it.
So the two rejoins. Looks like is that car 9 for Erebus in as well. In fact, car 4, Ash Walsh.
But guys, this has played into the hands of Jack Perkins and Russell Ingall big time. They were just sitting there waiting. It looks like the 22 was probably going to come in the next 2 or 3 laps, but this safety car has turned up at that absolute perfect time for them. Russell Ingall's on his way in after being in the car for a long time. Those two guys, the two, so I suppose, A drivers working together, and Russell's done a huge stint. He's about to enter the pit lane now. The HRT boys are getting ready for him. Jack Perkins ready to jump aboard to finish the rest of this race.
Russell's makeup will be running after this one.
It certainly will be. I'll see if he's got his walking stick here, but I think he's done a great job.
He has done an outstanding job, but that's a big call physically to put together a big long stint like that.
Go, 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 go. Clear out, brother. Clear out.
So, flag marshals displaying waved yellows at each of the marshalling points and the SC boards. This is all as a result of, unfortunately, what happened to Alex Buncombe down there in the runoff area at turn 9.
And still no movement for the 7. Used a lot of curb there, didn't he?
He did at turn 7, and then as we've seen many people over this past weekend, it's very easy to lock the inside front. That's pretty heavy contact with those tyres that are interlaced down there. There it is in the background, and it's given the guardrail a fair thumping down there, and it's a dual tyre barrier down there. The one at the end of the back straight, here's the other angle again, is actually triple tyres laced together.
Now this is the rejoin here for the Pepsi Max crew. Remember that Winterbottom had already taken service. Mostert went the next time around, but gets the rejoin ahead of the 5. Russell Ingall's out of the car after a big stint here at the 500. Hands it over to Jack Perkins.
He's done a great job. We give him
He
a
has,
bit of stick,
seriously.
but he's done a nice job. Now, this guy is important here because they haven't stopped him. So Bradley has pulled one of his little strategic stunts, and his group in there at Team BOC, they've left him out there, and so as a result of that, he's vaulted up the order. And I'll give you an update on what that means with his fuel and when that window closes shortly, but I think he can go to 96.
How many laps do we have to go around for?
We'll be going around for about 3
So a
laps
chance
here,
to
mate.
roll the dice on strategy for a few teams here. Interestingly, Whincup, Van Gisbergen staying out on track, and that will mean that the Pro Drive guys will be behind them, and that extra stop. So they've managed to get in and out with that third stop. The two of them, Bright, the only one not coming in. So Whincup, Van Gisbergen, they did get into the pits. Bright hasn't had that extra stop yet, but they do get a chunk of track position by staying out there.
Time was on our side here in safety car terms. We didn't have really any double stacking issues to note. Erebus, for example, pitted Ash Walsh first, gave it another lap, and then Will Davison was in. That's a good example, and Pepsi Max did the same.
Yeah, Pro Drive, same thing for them. Only just with Winterbottom making that pit entrance. It was very touch and go there, but that could have completely ruined their day had they not made that split decision, because they would have been stacking the next time round. This might give us a bit more of an idea of just how close this was. About now, I'm coming in.
Oh!
Just.
That's what Crompo was talking about before with the chattering under brakes, and just pulls it up. So really late call there for Mark Winterbottom, but got the stop done. And we need a calibration check here because we've still got a long way to go, don't we? This is awesome.
And we went so long without our first Lexus safety car of the Pertec Endurance Cup, considering how many we saw last year. Although, to be fair, Sandown didn't bring about that many safety cars at all. It was really Bathurst that had the lion's share. But this will stack the field back up. It's not great news for Whincup. He had a nice 17-second buffer over the 2 Pro Drive cars, and that's really brought them back into contention. I'm sure Jamie would have been quite happy if this day went free the whole way to the checkered flag. Some other chatter that was going about, Lee Holdsworth is complaining that maybe his cool suit wasn't working. Not what you want on Melbourne's hottest day of the year so far, pretty much. Just his luck that would actually get a nice clear day down here in Melbourne. His cool suit wouldn't work, so maybe they had a chance to fiddle with that during that last pit stop sequence. With the exception of a light, really light dusting yesterday before the co-driver race, it's been awesome. The weather here so far this weekend, perfect for the first of our Enduros. The Pertec Enduro Cup underway with the 500. Bathurst, of course, is just around the corner. And then the Castrol Gold Coast 600. We can't wait for that. Now, has McLaughlin used this as a chance to get back on the lead lap? Certainly on timing, it would suggest so. They'll be at the back of the queue. They've been down pit lane 5 times already, given the fact that they've had a meatball flag and a black flag to contend with. But safety cars do give you sometimes a chance to make up for lost time. And this has put them back on even pegging. Todd Kelly, unfortunately, hasn't had a chance to really flex his muscles so far today in the car sales Ultima. It's going to be a driver change inside the garage for the Nissan. The Lexus safety car still pacing the field at the moment. The order hasn't changed, but it's certainly been condensed. There's still an awful long way to go. We're just about at the halfway mark.
Lexus RCF safety car leads the field.
Lights out, accelerate away from the field. Car 1 and 2 on the speed.
Russell Ingall, mate, just climbing out of that car. You're looking okay, a little bit wet around the collar.
I think I need the makeup girl. Yeah, geez, I tell you what, I forgot how hot these things are inside the car, but especially today, like she's got a few degrees out there, and the pace is pretty hot too. Tyre degradation's pretty steep, which means you're working twice as hard inside the car to try and keep it on the black stuff.
Well, you did a long stint, obviously played a little bit of a different strategy, which was smart, and you were in the car for quite a long time there. But it has worked out. You're back up into 12th spot, so it's been a good game.
Well, it's where Jack qualified the car on Saturday, so we've sort of done a full circle, absolutely. But you know, we just had to play this. It was risky to do what we did, like pit early, but at the end of the day, you got nothing to lose from where we started, so just give it a swing and see what happens.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, dude.
We are good to go racing once again in the 500. Jamie Whincup controls the field. Russell Ingall gets back to watching on because Jack Perkins is in 12th place in the queue here. They've done a good job, as he said. Van Gisbergen second, Bright is third. That's an interesting play, and we'll talk more about that as the race unfolds. Then Mostert, Winterbottom, Reynolds. Oh. Climbing the curbs there for Van Gisbergen. Nice clean restart, no issues to contend with there. Already 0.4 between Whincup and Van Gisbergen. Whincup on it. Can Bright stay with these guys?
What we are seeing today is a definite leap in speed. Will Davison looked like he was having a bit of a moment at the end of the back chute then. And both cars, 1 and 97, have stepped it up a notch in recent weeks, haven't they? So we've seen them really battling to throw punches at the Pepsi Max cars. In fact, all the Pro Drive cars through the year. There's no issue here at the moment. Jason Bright in third place, but under assault at the moment from Mostert. And I think Chaz will be able to nibble away down the inside pretty easily here to grab a position. He's on fresher tyres. On the subject of tyres, I think Whincup only ended up putting 2 tyres on the rear, and Bright's actually stepping out of everyone's way here.
I reckon there might have been a tap there just as he came through one.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll be pitting this lap, okay? Pitting this lap, staying in the car. Pitting this lap, staying in the car.
Gee, that's going to put him right at the very end of the train. Jason Bright.
He looks like he's struggling to hold off the super cheap auto racer here as well. Slade's keen to get by.
So to hold track position, they nicked a couple of litres out of car 1 in the process, and I think they just did 2 rear tyres on that car. And Lowndes is also buried right in the middle of the field here as well in 15th position. Remember where they started, he and Stephen Richards, all the way down the order, at the very back of the field.
Gisbergen responds, keeps it stable, 0.47.
18 seconds to the stop there.
Whincup wiggling.
He's just trying to get a feel for it, and the tyres would have cooled out, pressures would have dropped slightly.
So we watch Jason Bright here. This is through turn 1, and the field pressuring him from behind. Does he cop a touch here or a hit? Look at the air that 5 gets as they come through, and sideways. Oh, if there wasn't contact, it was very close for car 8. Mostert was through. Look at the way the 55 and the 5 climbed the curb at that point. Still half a second. Whincup to Van Gisbergen. Mostert's closer. He's closer to the Giz. Good job, Tim Blanchard. Car 3 is 9th in the queue, in the order at present.
I know what they've done down at BJR there with Team BOC car now, so I had to stop and think about it in discussion with Oscar in here as car 33 comes back in. They brought him in so that from this point on, it's only 2 stops to home now for Bright. Sorry, 2 stints, 1 stop. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. So fast as they come off the back straight there. They get up around 270 k's an hour at that point before they weave right and left down into Dandenong Road. Back with Van Gisbergen. 0.7 now. Jamie's been able to increase the margin just slightly, just chipping here, chipping away. That's the danger. Mostert's closing.
So we've seen enough evidence now of people on the racetrack to also get a proper understanding of their fuel consumption around here, which is pretty much on the predicted target. So we're seeing 40 to 41 laps a stint. That was Shane Van Gisbergen. I think that he was rejecting the notion of trying to save fuel. So the reason why they decided to take the pain now with Jason Bright's car, put him at the back of the queue, is from this point they can squirt it, fill it up with fuel just once, and that then gets it home.
Stephen Richards, it was a difficult start to the day in position 23, currently in 14th. I suppose the safety cars kind of helped you out to bunch the field up.
It's a really tough day today because the amount of tyre degradation you've got and the surface of the track because of the heat, you just can't afford to take any risks in passing anyone, and it's just really hard to go forward. You can have as much pace as the top 10 cars. We just couldn't go forward, but we had to look at the start of the day as a bit of a process to try and inch forward and just
take a bit when we could. So Lownsley's doing a good job out there, and we'll see where we are come 4 o'clock.
Still 77 laps to go. That's a long way.
Yeah, there's a long way, and it's just, I think at the moment there's, like everyone, we're sort of just out there surviving at the moment, doing the best we can.
Thanks, Richo. Good luck.
Thanks.
Warren Luff just giving me a bit of an explanation on the bump drafting deal you did there with Marcus Ambrose on one of the Nissans.
Yeah, look, it was a bit of fun. I've watched Talladega Nights, so I've seen Ricky Bobby do it plenty of times. I was just waiting for Marcus to say slingshot engage or something like that. But no, look, it was a bit of fun out there.
Car going pretty good. I mean, GT's in a good position now. You guys seem to have a reasonable pace.
Yeah, look, we struggled a bit early on, but as the track sort of has been progressing, the car seems to keep getting better and better. So second set of tyres, the car was actually quite good. So hopefully that's a trend for the rest of the race.
Well, you guys sit back and relax and watch the rest of it now.
Thanks, buddy.
Doing a good job with car 2. Garth Tander is in 8th place right now, and the sister car, the 22, is just outside the 10 with Jack Perkins at the wheel. There it is. There's Perkins ahead of Scott Pye. And then Rick Kelly. Lowndes is 14th. On board the 888 now. Great to have the legend here with us, having an ice cream. Dick Johnson. And watching Scott Pye in action here. Whincup and Van Gisbergen, it remains stable. About 0.5, 0.6 between the pair of them. Mostert is 3rd and closing, and Winterbottom rounds out the top 4. Continue, Chad, to watch the Xbox entry here, and everyone's breaking out the ice creams. Where's ours?
Bit of Days of Thunder. You can come by, we're all eating ice cream. You and that, Shane Webb, John Webb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shane Van Gisbergen doing all the hard yards now. We go back on board with him on the roof, and still within a second of Jamie Whincup. They haven't quite broken free from the Pepsi Max cars. Another half second back from them, so right now the top 4. That being Whincup, Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Winterbottom, still all covered by just 2 seconds courtesy of that safety car. It's almost as if the extra temperature here in Melbourne today has just given Red Bull and even Techno a little bit of a boost. The cooler conditions in those 2 race for the grids yesterday looked to really suit, in particular that second one, Greg, looked to really suit the Pepsi Max cars. Whilst it was Jamie who won it, those 2 Pepsi cars were all over him.
I love the fans of this sport that really dig it. Already, you made the Talladega Nights comment, and so did Warren Luff there before. They're straight onto it. Social media, they love it. They love it. Back at the front, 0.67. Whincup to Van Gisbergen. Mostert, Winterbottom. So it's status quo there. But it's brewing, isn't it? Oh, it was... David Reynolds' car was a little shaky there out of 1 on the run to 2.
They're lurking nicely. Tim Slade still first of the Walkinshaw cars. And Tander, as Tander does, fighting his way back through. He was labelled the tow truck in Inside Supercars because he seems to drag cars with him as he goes firing through the field.
Alex Bumpkin, it's been a bit of a challenging couple of days for you guys, and obviously then just ventured into the sand trap down at turn 9.
Yeah, absolutely. Got caught out the infamous Dandy Road, caught me out, and yeah, it's not been the ideal way to start our enduro campaign with Todd, but you know, we've been on the back foot pretty much all weekend. We've been sort of down the back, unfortunately. We've been struggling with the setup of the car, really, and yeah, I mean, you know, obviously off the start, just tried to just keep the car clean, no sort of contact anywhere, which was nice, and settled down into a rhythm, and then came in after about 20 laps, put some greens on, and then just got settled down and could get down into the 10s, which seemed okay at the time. And yeah, I was about 10-15 away from the end of my stint, and yeah, just got caught out with the lock wheel there.
It does happen. Dave Russell.
Thanks, Murph. We'll come back to that. That's because there's some action happening here.
Yeah, what's interesting at the moment is that just the way the cards fell, particularly with that safety car. as Lowndes takes on what looks like 4 green tyres there.
Cold greens. Watching for 33, main on exit. We're flat out to the end, 2 Muslims.
So there's a whole bunch of them out there, other than Jason Bright at the moment, that are going to be really squeaky on fuel. So at the moment, it's more than 1 stop of fuel required to get to the end. Just elaborate a little bit more detail on that. But the critical lap in this race is 1:19, 1:20 to fill and get home. So a few people are in a bit of strife here at the moment.
So there's been some number crunching, and so what they've done with Lowndes is they've brought him in and taken him out of the queue early now to be able to get the fuel assured, get that out of the way. So here's the stop, 4 brand new green Dunlop tyres going on that car. Gee, lightning fast on the wheels, weren't they? So cold tyres, she doesn't behave too nicely until they come up to tempered pressure. Yeehaw. Driving it like he would have done back in '96 when he shared the win with Greg Murphy here. And he's, of course, going today, if he can do it, Craig Lowndes, for win number 6, which would draw him level at the Sandown 500 in the record books with the great Alan Moffat. What a feat that would be. Neil's been working on some of the fuel numbers, and maybe we might have a couple of guys that are borderline, depending upon how this one shakes out at the end of the race.
Yeah, so at the moment, the guys that are ideally positioned on fuel, and when I say ideal, it's hardly a walk in the park. Van Gisbergen fuel that he's currently got in the car, the window closed. In other words, you empty the tank at lap 119. That coincides with about the critical lap. It's not the case with Whincup, not the case with Mostert. It is the case with Tim Slade. It is the case with Will Davison. It's certainly not the case with Mark Winterbottom. So they're going to need, history shows that in the last 3 years we've had 2 or 3 Lexus RCF safety car interventions, and so that has got everybody off the hook. But so far we've only had 1, and they're going to have to go into fuel conserve mode. So now I understand why Shane Van Gisbergen got that message a little bit earlier, see if you can save us some fuel. Because if he can roll out of it ever so slightly, a hard thing to do when you're half a second off the lead of a motor race, and save a little bit, he could get the free kick and the run to home.
David Russell on board now with the boss there, Rick Kelly. The car, how's it going, mate? You started 14, you're still running around at the same sort of position on strategy. How was it when you're out there?
Yeah, look, got off to a good start, so that was the main thing. As co-drivers, you always want to get it off the line, and yeah, made up some good spots there. The first stint was quite good for us. We sort of got out of sync, which gave me some clear air, and then had some others sort of rejoin in front. So it's good now. Rick's got some good tyres to the end. I sort of ran my first couple of stints on some quali tyres, which is good. Gives him, the best opportunity for the rest of the day, and he's doing a good job. He's saving a bit of fuel at the moment, and his pace looks pretty good. So it's going to be a long afternoon sitting here watching it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully moving up a few more posies.
Yeah, well, the fuel is going to be the issue with the limited amount of laps and limited amount of fuel left.
David Russell in conversation. Jack Daniels Racing, Nissan Motorsport entry.
It wasn't the ideal start for yourself, but great driving, and Scotty Pye's doing a sensational job, and you guys are back in the hunt.
Yeah, I had a great start in the sprint race, but that certainly wasn't the case today. Just got out of sequence and didn't actually have it in gear off the start line. So made up some ground though. We've got a fast car. The Xbox Falcon's doing pretty well. We've done 3 stops now. We've just got 1 to go. We're just managing our fuel right now to make sure we can make it to our pit number. Scott's doing a great job at there, but we'll see what happens for this afternoon.
So that you say you're managing your fuel, because there are a few cars out the front that are certainly on borderline.
Yeah, look, we can make it. So, but we're fighting the pit boom with Shane Van Gisbergen. So we both want to come in on the same lap. So if we don't want to have to wait for him to finish his fuel, we're going to have to do something a little different. We might stretch an extra lap or 2. So we're just getting ready for that. But we're in good position. Certainly, car's got good pace, and we're coming back through the field.
Thanks, Marcus. Good luck.
He'll be kicking himself on that one.
With the start.
Gee whiz.
But it clears it up for us, doesn't it? We weren't sure why he dropped back massively after having such a good Friday, the pair of them.
So the interesting thing here is that it almost goes against the grain for Shane Van Gisbergen. The more that he can roll out of it and not be conned into playing the game, the more likely he is to beat Jamie Whincup. So by burning fuel at the moment, he may actually ruin his chance. He'll have to play the game that everybody else does. At the moment, they need more than... There's one more stop to come, and at the moment, if they fill up at their next stop, when that critical lap approaches, lap 119 or 120, they'll struggle to get home. But Van Gisbergen is right on the cusp of not having that problem if they save fuel. And that's what this man and his group are sitting there calculating at the moment.
Inside the techno bunker, Steve Hallam, vastly experienced guy from Formula One to NASCAR.
And the Brad Jones strategy, which was to pluck Jason Bright out of all that and just understand the pain and take it early. He's down in 23rd. Doesn't sound like anything that you'd write to Arello about and say, how good's this? So he's 52.5 seconds off the lead. But when everybody else trundles through the lane, that'll start to clean up a little bit for him, particularly as they also go into fuel save mode. And there he is. So it won't be an absolute front-running contender, but he could end up with a little payday out of this a little bit later on.
The gap at the front is 0.64. So we take a look at Craig Lowndes. At the moment, the Triple Eight is down in 22nd position. We saw him bolt those fresh, those beautiful green tyres on before, and he attacked from the moment he left pit lane. He continues to attack Lowndes.
Yeah, and of course, they've done the same sort of thing at Red Bull Racing Australia with Craig Lowndes, so they've just removed all of that. So an interesting situation out there at the moment. Hot, slippery, difficult afternoon out there on the racetrack, and they're all battling to maintain pace. And the thing that we see bob up in these endurance races a lot from time to time, how to make lap time and not use fuel. So let's do a lap speed check here. Last lap through for Whincup was a 10.8. 10.8 for Van Gisbergen, 10.8 for Mostert, 10.7 for Winterbottom. That's amazing, isn't it? That's the best guys in the business, all within a tenth of each other, absolutely with the thing jammed on the firewall.
Reynolds was an 11.2, so fractionally off the marker of those guys. It'll be interesting to see where the 55 shakes out in all of this. Back with the Xbox Falcon, Scott Pye is 12th. And up ahead of him, that's Jack Perkins and Fabian Coulthard. First car in the 10.
Now the other guy that's in fuel, in a strong fuel position mode, not in fuel saving mode, is Andre Heimgartner. And just because of the way their race has run as well. So keep an eye out on that car, number 111. Look at this. So Van Gisbergen now right under the rear wing of Jamie Whincup.
I'll just annoy Roland Dane here very quickly, mate. Also getting those critical phases. The talk at the moment is about how many stops to the end. Jamie, in fuel conserve mode, what situation are you guys in with where you think you are?
To be honest, I think if we want to get to the end, we need a safety car, frankly. And I think other people will probably be similar. It's touch and go. So we've decided to play the long game with Craig and just run flat out. If there's a safety car, that'll give him track position straight away as well. So could go any way right now, to be honest.
But at the moment, it's looking like if you don't have one, Jamie's in a bit of strife. He's going to have to maybe stop twice.
Yeah, I think there's a chance we might need a splash and dash, but we don't know how the rest of the race is going to play out in terms of, if there's a safety car. We don't need very much safety car.
Thanks for the info.
Steve Hallam, Roland Dane just talking about Jamie Whincup's fuel situation. They're very much on the borderline and potentially requiring a safety car or a splash and dash. Shane Van Gisbergen putting plenty of pressure on him at the moment. What is your fuel situation?
Well,
I wouldn't be upset if there was a safety car, let me put it that way.
I gather that you have much more confidence in your car.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a very tense period of the race at the moment for everybody. Well, certainly the leaders. And, yeah, safety car would relieve that pressure.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve Hallam in conversation with Rihanna there. So just going back to Whincup, and I'm just getting fresh data here. He needs 131 litres. Well, that's more than tank full, which max capacity is 112. How's this for a great exchange between these two? We look from Jamie's rear bumper at Shane van Gisbergen. Shane, on my current numbers, needs 114 litres. So now you understand the challenge here. And look at this, Fabian Coulthard locked up down at turn 9 with Jack Perkins behind, drops a couple of spots. They've been a little bit weak in their break and turn phase on this racetrack, haven't they? At Freightliner this weekend, they've had a few problems just getting that car stopped and turned. Gaps just opened ever so slightly. So just understand again that the usable fuel in these cars is about 110 litres. So there's 2 litres you don't get because it's further up the
We're all
line.
in the same boat, mate. We're looking for about 3 laps extra.
So they've all got the similar problem. Some of them have got it worse than others.
Look at the top right of your screen, Shane van Gisbergen, Jamie Whincup, bottom right. And will they be able to conserve enough here? What an interesting game we've got to the end of this one.
Roland's point is right, because in years gone by, it's been all about safety car interventions, 2 or 3 in each of the recent years.
Whincup by 0.6 from van Gisbergen. This is going to be fascinating to the end of this race. They need effectively a safety car, but will we get one? I mean, 2004, the year Marcus Ambrose won it with Greg Ritter, it was crazy. We had 12 safety cars, the most we've ever seen here. Not today.
No, this is going to be flat out to the end. And in doing so, you're going to get yourself out of that fuel window, unless you might be lucky enough to snare a Lexus RCF safety car, or maybe it goes green and these guys somehow get brought back into the game. Brad Jones was the first to pick up that there's another critical lap. Go back a whole fuel tank to the second last pit stop, and that's when you can buy yourself that ticket to the end of the race, as Neil likes to call it. Same rule applies at Bathurst that applies here. But this is a different way of getting that ticket. Pitting early.
A couple of guys we should probably highlight in terms of performances so far. Will Davison and Alex, for that matter, 8th for Erebus Motorsport, and Tim Blanchard is in the 10. Currently, in car 3, he's in 9th position for Team Cool Drive. That's a really good job.
And how much would that mean to him? Hasn't been inside the top 10 in terms of finish all year. 12th at Barbagallo was his best on the Sunday race. That was a long time ago. And that was a race fraught with strategy. Those on the soft tyre at the end were the ones that went well.
And ahead of the likes of Scott Pye and Rick Kelly and Lee Holdsworth.
Still Slade doing a good job inside the top 10, but Tan now starting to pull the pressure on.
Got some information through from Brad Jones as well, because we were querying the break and turn performance of this car being driven by Fabian Coulthard, and couldn't get it stopped down at turn 9, had a flat rear tyre or a deflating rear tyre. So the good news is they catch that information now because of the live tyre pressure monitoring in these cars. They were able to see that, and then we saw the evidence of the effects of it when he nearly ran off down at 9. So that was the reason why they brought him in straight away. So there's technology working for the teams and the drivers there. Otherwise, you could, at a place like this, lose a car very easily.
Did well not to lose a lap.
That's great use of the new technology, isn't it? Very cool. Here's Bradley. Is he texting you?
He is. Hang on. I'm going to send one back to him. And mine wasn't that complimentary.
You are mad, you two. 100 laps that we've completed. Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell led 86 of those. So super stuff from Red Bull. And is this the turning of the tide as far as Holden is concerned? We focused on the pace of the Pro Drive Fords for the last goodness knows how many rounds, but good pace this weekend from both Van Gisbergen and from Whincup.
Here's some guys that haven't had the pace that they would have liked.
Surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Nissans, we spoke about all these engine upgrades. They're coming, they're going to be great. The track where Nissan have so much history in the past. They broke through in 1986 with Seaton and Fury, they went on a rampage all through the late 80s and early 90s, picking up a bunch of wins. And here they are with 4 cars all outside the top 10. Oh, here we go. This is closed up dramatically here between Van Gisbergen. He's got Mostert all over him. And I wonder if maybe something happened at turn 1.
Yeah, and they'll be trying to get that 97 car to run on very little fuel.
So the fight for second place has really ramped up here. Chaz Mostert has closed on Shane Van Gisbergen, but we think there may have been a moment or something for Van Gisbergen that contributed to that. Look at the margin, 1.7 now. Whincup to the Giz. Here we go. Turn 2.
Oh, that's a biggie, actually, wasn't it?
Sorry about that, guys. All good, buddy, all good. Just keep doing what you're doing, mate. Try and save as much as you can.
Ooh, it's such a nasty culvert through there. It actually needs addressing. It should be smooth through there. Cars shouldn't be subjected to that sort of jolt through there. It's wrong.
It's deceptive on the eye when you go down and watch the cars at turn 1. It really drops away beneath the horse race track, more or less, doesn't it?
Oh, there's a tunnel there. That's actually the old, down the inside's the old pit area from the old circuit. But yeah, the cars have actually been getting broken there this weekend. And there's clearly a huge divot in behind the curb there. So it's not doing the cars any favours. So we've got this continuing fascinating battle at the moment in terms of how they'll get home and how they manage fuel from here. So of the key runners, the easiest way to describe it is that our leader, Jamie Whincup, is in the worst position. So they've worked really hard on the car this weekend, and they've worked really hard today to maintain track position. And they've fought vigorously, and they've actually gambled on that notion. But now they're in a situation where they've got to take on just a little bit more fuel than those they're racing. Right on the cusp, and it's just line ball, is Shane Van Gisbergen. He may or may not get there in terms of the fuel requirement. It's very, very close.
Nearly 2 years since you were last in a V8 supercar, and look at you go. The Repair Management Australia, the best place it's been all year.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think that little bit of hiatus was a good thing. Yeah, like you say, it was Gold Coast 2013. I last drove one or raced one of these things. The LDM guys are giving me a great car today. I'm having a lot of fun out there, and Tim's doing a great job as well, still inside the 10 at the moment. So, yeah, a bit worse for wear. I'm not cut out for it like I used to be, but you can do all the training you like, but jumping in these things is the best training you can do.
It must be a really, great feeling for the team. They've had a rough time so far this year. A result would be fantastic.
Absolutely. I think results definitely on the cards for these guys. They're definitely deserving of it. They've put the hard yards. It's a shame we don't have 2 cars inside the 10 at the moment. It's a shame what happened to Nick and Ollie. They were on for a great result as well, but we've still got 1 car doing really well, so we're fingers crossed, just keep plugging away. Still a long way to go yet.
Great job, Carl. Thank you.
Thanks, Rihanna.
Yeah, it sure is. His best finish is 16th back in 2013 with Rick Kelly, and a big hi to his fiancée as well, Elise Riccici, gold medal winning Australian sailor, and no doubt daughter Charlotte watching the action as well. Very competitive combo, those two. And at the moment, Tim Blanchard is in the 10. That's awesome performance. 9th right now. Whincup leads the way by 2.3 from the Giz. You're riding with the Erebus Motorsport entry. Will Davison now at the helm. His brother Alex did an excellent job earlier today. They're in 8th spot. Like it got up on the curbs there, out of 9 before, really broke traction. There's Betty Klemenko, team owner. She's been busy this weekend because they run their GT Academy cars here as well. So I think I saw some social media pictures from her here at sunup this morning, watching the work on the GT car, but we're focused on the V8 supercar action right now.
There are 5 people on our numbers that can safely just come in at this critical lap that fuels them to home. And maybe a 6th, but I'll run through the 5 to begin with. So Wall, who's in 16th, Wood, who's in 18th, Heimgartner, who's 19th. They'll come in, fill them up, they're good. Bright and Lowndes we know as well. So Lowndes is 20th and Bright's 22nd. The problem is they're a long way down the order. Big gap. You know, in the case of Jason, it's 56 seconds to the leader of the race. So they'll make ground, but they'll only grab half the field in the process. And the other one that I think is also in that boat is 15 as well. Rick Kelly and David Russell. Maybe Caruso and Fiore.
Now this mix of pictures might look like an assault on your senses, but it shows you the mix, because Tim Slade is 6th, Garth Tander is 7th, Will Davison is 8th, and we were, whichever you follow, whichever you're a fan of, bottom right's GT chasing Slade. You look back and you can see Garth top right, and then Will Davison behind them. Here's Will at the left of your screen. Awesome.
And of these guys that we're looking at here at the moment, Tim needs 114 litres and Tander needs 117. So Garth's in more strife here. So if they could just save a little bit of fuel, particularly in the case of Tim, he'd be in better shape. Other than that, he'll have to come in and have a squirt to get him home. Extra little splash and dash.
Gaps back to 1.5. Whincup and Van Gisbergen. Freightliner Commodore comes through. Fabian Coulthard is 23rd. Then we pick up the leader. So that shows you the state of play. 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We go back then to David Reynolds in 5th place in the 55.
Garage bunkers at the moment, crossing fingers, toes, jumping up and down, pointing in various directions in the compass, hoping for a safety car.
Here's Dean Canto off to the left, Ann Pedersen to your right, Ann driving for Super Black Racing. Dino had a very solid stint in the 55. Let's keep going lap after lap, these two, Mostert and Winterbottom, trading times where we're talking differences in hundredths of a second. There's just nothing in it between these two. Now with Frosty. He's 174 points ahead of Chaz in the championship chase at the moment, Frosty.
And they're drifting out into mid-11s, 11 3/4 now, so they're a long way from the sort of pace that we saw earlier in the weekend or in the cooler conditions, or when they're
okay, mate, they are happy with their consumption
chasing revs.
They are happy with their consumption.
So these are a couple of the cars that I mentioned before. So Dale Wood and Andre Heimgartner, 18th and 19th, they're okay in terms of fuel. So they'll come in at that critical lap point, lap 119, 120, fill up, and then half a chance to rocket up the field here.
And just a moment there for Jason Bright. Sorry, Neil, I think he's left the road off the exit of 1 on the run to 2.
Because he was 54 seconds from the lead and he's now 57, so this cost him 4 seconds, this little escapade on the outside of turn 1.
Talking too much.
And Gizzy's had a moment as well, as I understand, and he's actually going to drop a spot here. And the reason that they're trying to make lap speed by by not driving the engines hard, but driving the chassis very hard. So they'll be trying to do it under brakes. He's under attack at the moment. He's got a couple of angry-looking Pepsi Max Fords about to attack. So up on the outside goes Winterbottom. It's wheel to wheel at the top of the hill at 6. And then there was a little bit of a rub, and Van Gisbergen prevails over the top.
Key thing was that Frosty was able to get ahead of Mostert in that exchange. That was massive. Brave stuff. Frosty to the outside, couldn't complete the mission on the 97, but he gets by Mostert. That's key.
Sharp radio, nothing wrong.
Yeah, they were talking to him. I was looking at my scanner and they were talking to him in the middle of that exchange. So I want short, sharp radio. Nothing long was the word from Van Gisbergen. And if you're going to talk, do it in a straight line. So he could be justifiably angry when someone's trying to have a conversation with him in the middle of all this.
Tim Edwards, it's getting pretty tense out there. 5 and 6 haven't been apart all day. Co-driver's done a great job, your two guys, and then there was that little exchange there with SVG. The numbers are being talked about with fuel. Where are you guys sitting right now? We reckon there's a couple of stops required for most of these guys at the front.
We think Frosty's okay, and Chaz is a bit borderline. That's roughly where we're at with the fuel numbers, but we think at least car 5's good, and we've got Chaz saving a bit of fuel at the moment.
So a safety car wouldn't go astray?
No, it wouldn't go astray, but we'll see how we go. We're there or thereabouts.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one. Thanks for that.
I wonder how significant that first stop is then when you go back. A lot more fuel went into car 5 back then. That's a replay of the off for Shane Van Gisbergen, which allowed those Pepsi Max cars to get close and ultimately for Winterbottom to get by Mostert. This was an awesome exchange going down the back straight.
Car one's in, so they've blinked at Red Bull. While this little battle's going on for the miners at the moment, they've decided that it's better to actually grab fuel here for Whincup because the safety car's not arriving on the scene. How's that replay of those blokes at the end of the back straight? Live pictures now. Brake pad change also for Whincup.
Nice and easy, folks. Make sure they're all the way back. Okay, mate, the rears are on. Fuel's still going in. Just waiting on the front. We've got 3 seconds left. Pump the... All right. Yes, pump your pedal. Pump your pedal. Wait. We've got problems on the right front. We've got a nut.
Looks like an afternoon at the Speedway for Jason Bright.
That was critical, Murph.
Yeah, guys, big drama on the right front there, obviously. They couldn't get it on. He was on there with the rattle gun, it was turning, but it wouldn't take, so lost a lot of time. There had to be 5 or 6 seconds for Jamie Whincup, so that's going to be absolutely critical.
And while all that was going on, Jason Bright was looping around in the kitty litter down at turn 9. And if he hadn't been able to get out, that would have triggered the safety car that everyone's been praying for, which would have trapped Whincup at the precise wrong moment. So he would have been in the pit lane when everybody else was about to earn a free kick. So they've decided to take the pain. That leaves Van Gisbergen in the lead. And fuel to add for Winterbottom on my numbers is 127 litres. So here's the problem, front right, they couldn't get it on, it was snagged. And car 5 pitted 1 lap before car 6.
Well, what a fascinating prospect. Van Gisbergen leads the way for now from Winterbottom and Mostert.
Looking at the numbers here for car 6 and car 5, we're making it 5 litres difference in the refuel requirement. 127 litres required for Winterbottom, 122 litres required for Mostert. It's a 112 litre tank, and that's absolutely everything. Maximum capacity is 112. So there's no way on those numbers, unless we've got a data error, despite Tim's bluff, that they're going to be able to get through cleanly. Here's what happened to Jason Bright, the replay in the braking area at turn 9. Couldn't stop it, but had the presence of mind to gas it up, pick the throttle up, and drove it out the other side. So he did something that most other drivers don't do there. He turned right instead of left, threw a few rocks at our camera and popped out the other side. That was pretty sharp. But that was a great exchange between these guys, and we got tangled up with the Whincup stop. So apologies for that. But how's this replay? This is just wild stuff. So, and it's on between both the boys in the blue cars as well. So Frosty sneaks on by, and then watch them, how close they get at the top of the hill. Look at this. Biff, that's 270 plus kilometres an hour.
And when Shane moved across, Mostert had to get out of it, albeit fractionally. That was all that Winterbottom needed. That was the moment. And he was by car 6.
Down at the southern end of the track at turn 4, bit of a moment here also for car number 99, James Moffat, and awkwardly nudges the tyre barrier down there. And there's a problem with car 1. I've got something on the radio here at the moment. There's a problem with Whincup's car. He was just talking on the radio, so let's just watch and listen.
Yeah, good call.
And they've got a puncture. So they're having to replace one of the tyres. Don't know which one at this stage, but you'd expect to see Whincup in. So this is game over now for them.
Oh. They have had such a good weekend.
Again, they've caught this on the tyre pressure monitoring.
Yeah, got you there, mate, sorry.
Don't often hear them with elevated voices at Red Bull, so there's a little bit of anger and frustration down there.
Off the gun, Bully, he'll be off the gun.
They took a little splash too, but but Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell dominated.
Cold right rear, eyes forward, eyes forward.
Eyes forward, says Mark Dutton. They dominated the qualifying races for the grid here. They looked so sharp. Started from pole, led 86 of the first 100 laps. Now this for car 1. Just heartbreaking. You've got to feel for Jamie Whincup. He's had to pit again with an issue with the right rear.
And he's gone a lap down as a result of this. I caught the message on the radio, so they spotted it on the telemetry of the tyre pressure monitoring. They've had to replace that. So a second trip back into the pit lane in the recent past for this man, who together with his teammate yesterday did a fantastic job. He's now 1 lap down. He's in 23rd position. Shane Van Gisbergen's the leader. He's got just on 1 second over Mark Winterbottom. And if you look at Van Gisbergen's fuel requirement, it's 112 litres. The tank capacity of a V8 supercar in its entirety, 112 litres. They need to save some fuel in 97.
Oh, just got gutted for Jamie Whincup because that team, it seemed as though it was a resurgence for him at this point in the game. And to have that happen after such a dominant weekend so far, such a good weekend.
Now we're coming into a very important phase of this race. It's all important, but there's an extra emphasis on these next few laps. So they're now starting to get right down near the bottom of the fuel pickup. So first and foremost, are they going to be able to gather all the fuel out of the car? That's the first thing that teams work very hard on as we watch Whincup in recovery there with Lee Holdsworth. Lee's in 12th. Jamie's back in 23rd, 1 lap down, trying to get his margin back again. So we get a bit of an indication as to where they're at with fuel pickup. And we're approaching the critical lap, and that's the phase and the point in the race where you refill and you can get home on a load of fuel. It'll be about lap 119, 120. Have a look at the graphic bottom left-hand corner of your screen. We're nearly there.
Paul Dumbrell. Tough day at the office here. I mean, you're smiling because you know anything is possible at any stage. You guys did a great job yesterday. Good job today. Obviously, Jamie had to come in quite early there to get some more fuel, and which meant another stop anyway, but then to have a puncture.
Yeah, hey, I guess bad luck comes in threes occasionally, so it's just how it is. So we've obviously got a good fuel to get to the end with one more. We've got good tyres on the car with greens, but yeah, it's not hasn't gone to plan. But what do? This race is such a tough one. We've always had really good luck here the last couple of years, but obviously not so much today.
Good on you, buddy.
Can I just have a quick call out to Zoe and Daniel and little Henry, who was just born today at home. Well done, guys.
So fuel warning has just come on car 9, Will Davison.
Let's have a look at that rear tyre. And did it run over something there? Is that what's contributed maybe to the right rear issue? For Jamie Whincup, I need to see that again. So we're about to get busy here at a critical point in the race. We thought car 9 also would be a bit borderline fuel-wise. They were looking good there before. 5 is in the lane, Winterbottom.
Yeah, so that was a nice try for Tim Edwards to bluff us into doubting our numbers. But, remind me to go and play cards with him sometime.
Yep.
Great shot that as the pliers push those pistons back in the caliper, get the pads out. Hot work for the crews.
Pump the pedal. Need to jump the pedal. Need to jump the pedal. Right, I'm happy with the pedal. We've got to clear out. Keep down. Go, go, go,
And I
go,
think
go.
97's going to come in as well. That's telling. So 17 and 6 is in as well. 17 couldn't get home from that point either. Remember that it's not impossible that we don't get a safety car though. So, I mean, you've got to keep one eye on that prospect as well. 6 in, 97 in front of him.
That's 9 as well. Is it 4?
Copy that, mate. Don't forget to ride like boys. 1.5.
There was only 1 litre difference in these guys, 6 and 97 in their last stop. It's another pad change for these to have good brake quality and performance in the back end of the race. Having trouble actually getting those pistons back.
Pump the pedal up, boys.
Took a while, didn't it?
Just waiting on fuel. Waiting on fuel.
Felt like it did.
Clear to go, mate. Clear to go. Where you go? Oh, first go.
Now watch the rejoin here for
Make sure you
6
got the right
relative
pedal.
to 97, right-hand side of your screen. Close.
Watch Van Gears. Straight in behind him.
It sets up a great race.
Pump the pedal, pump the pedal. Rossi's passing you on exit.
So Frosty is ahead of the 97 and of Mostert. So what a fight we're going to have toward the end of this one.
So Frosty's got track position, but does he have enough fuel to get to the end? Wow. We see this year in and year out in these races. Reynolds is in, Tander's in, Will Davison, David Wall, James Moffat, Jason Bright all in.
Beautiful.
So they're doing brakes on David's car as well. It was a very good stint from Dean Cando earlier in the day. Green tyres, brand new tyres going on that car.
Okay, pump the pedal. Still waiting for fuel. Still waiting for fuel. Big crew, get ready for 111. Okay, go, 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 go.
There's Van Gisbergen coming through now, and Mostert as well. So Reynolds rejoins behind.
They just told Van Gisbergen that he's still short for fuel, still too short, you've got to save. And we don't think that, and that's 9 back in the garage. So Will Davison issue here.
They were in the 10.
That's incredibly disappointing for these guys, isn't it?
Both of them have put together very good stints, both he and Alex.
Former world champion Alan Jones used to say that if they're going to die, it's much better for those cars to do it early so you can at least have a shower without having to torture yourself all the way through to the back end of the day. So you've got to feel for them at Erebus Motorsport when you've already banked 118 laps in an endurance race and then all of a sudden you have an issue.
Back with the 97. And 7th on the road at the moment ahead of Mostert. It's Lowndes who heads the queue.
Okay, mate, the fast car 6 to push on and save later. The fast car 6 to push on, save later. Do what you can, mate.
got a 1.8 second margin over McLaughlin.
So these guys are all just borrowing from the bank at the moment. They're just they're taking on a bit more debt, and we'll just see whether or not it all gets better later. We'll worry about tomorrow when it comes.
Got to make a repayment, don't you?
You did that on your big house in Monaco.
Go easy, go easy. Look at the damage to car 7. It's been a tough weekend, hasn't it, for Alex Buncombe and Todd Kelly. Back with Whincup here.
Yeah, speaking of, we've got the fin here that got the puncture. You can see right here in the circle quite a significant hole straight through the carcass of the tyre, which clearly deflated it. A brand new one. She's done.
So I wonder what that was. It did seem from the replay like something.
Yeah, I think it happened, Rusty, when they obviously had the problem with that the right. And they went to grab, I think, another wheel nut maybe off the boom, and it's pulled down something else off the boom. I think the hook that maybe the wheel nut was hanging on, it's gone under the rear wheel, and then significantly obviously damaged it.
Wow, thanks, Murph.
Gee, that's those little 1%ers that can grab. So this is Lowndes.
3 tyres are on. Lowndes just waiting on the pads going to the front, and we're waiting on fuel. We've got 7 seconds left, gents. Plenty of time. There's no car approaching here now. You're clear for now. Clear, clear, clear.
See Craig pumping the pedal there.
Pedal, hold greens, pumping pedal. Long way to go. Please confirm he's got a pedal.
And he rejoins just behind Jamie, who's currently in 14th place on the road. So to look at the order, it's Winterbottom who's now at the top with 4.3 over Fabian Coulthard, then Van Gisbergen, Mostert and Reynolds. They're your 5. Tander ahead of Slade.
And on my fuel consumption numbers here at the moment, Mark Winterbottom's got fuel that gets him to lap 151. Problem is, I've got a set of entry regs here, and it's a 161 lap race.
Do you want to send that memo?
No, no. But we could see a safety car intervention, and various people are in a similar position.
So Coulthard in the Freightliner entry out of the way, so that these two, this warring pair, can get by Van Gisbergen and Mostert. On board with Fabs here. Braking issues over the weekend that Neil detailed earlier. Alignment there earlier in the race for Luke Youlden, but these guys are going stroke for stroke in terms of lap time. Watching the Kiwi up over the curb. It's a great battle, this. 5.7 seconds, Frosty to Van Gisbergen, and Mostert is right on the Darrell entry. That grandstand off to your right.
So they're encouraging Chaz to continue to attack Shane Van Gisbergen at the moment, and continue to be mighty impressed with the drive today in the Cool Drive entry. Tim Blanchard, position number 8 in this field, car 3. He's between Tim Slade and Jack Perkins. Lee Holdsworth in 10th position. So they're saying to Chaz Mostert that Gizzy's in a lot of trouble in terms of fuel. But they've got their own issues in car 6 as well, because according to these numbers, he's only got fuel to 156 from here.
.03 Winterbottom to Van Gisbergen as these two continue. Both of them, particularly the car of...
Complete your pass and your 5. There is 36 to go.
The car of Mostert surviving that incident at the culvert earlier today. Oh, look at this big lunge under brakes. Won't be close enough. Has a look, though, on the Techno Commodore. Shows the nose.
So I don't know how much Shane will fight here, because, again, I've just gone back and revised those numbers with Oscar, and he can get home from here, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Okay, they're telling him to attack you. They're telling Mostert to attack you.
Yeah, so they're all listening in. Oh, car 8, black flag. Oh, sorry, blue flag for car 8, I apologise. So to some extent, there's not a lot of point in Shane going crazy, but of course what you don't want to do, the reason boys fight hard, they know how valuable track position is. So if a safety car came out and you yielded to somebody only a minute or two ago, you kick yourself because you can never just offer it up on a platter. So he'll make him work hard, but they're right on the line ball in car number 97 at the moment, right on the line for whether they do or don't get to the finish.
You talked about the performance of the 22 before for Jack Perkins. Have to wonder what could have been. He was obviously tied up in that incident. Not his fault yesterday with Craig Lowndes, and it meant they started well down the order. They had a car that was capable of being in the top 10 to start today. They're back in the top 10. The 22 is currently 9th, ahead of Lee Holdsworth. And Tander's done a sensational job to be in 6th place right now. Here's the 22 and Holdsworth right behind him. 9 gets back out, so that's good for Erebus Motorsport, but so much time lost, unfortunately, for Will and for Alex and all of that.
Steve Hallam, earlier on you said a safety car would be nice. Is it? Would you still like to see one?
I wouldn't object.
Still wouldn't object? That was a very similar answer. Seriously though, with a bit of fuel saving, are you reasonably confident?
Well, there's confident and reasonably confident.
Oh, come on, answer me.
We're anticipating an optimistic result.
Oh my goodness gracious. That'll do, thank you.
Steve Hallam jousting there with Greg Murphy over the finite definitions of language. I wouldn't object. Spoken like a true Englishman.
A couple of people have picked up on socials. Never try to trick a pilot is what they're saying with your studying the numbers in terms of fuel. On lap 122, Mark Winterbottom hit the lead of this race. The first lap he's led all day at Sandown, but he leads by 6.7 seconds over Shane Van Gisbergen, Mostert, and Fabian Coulthard is in the top 4 right now.
This is going to be a real nail biter because the other thing, our calculations are based on dead reckoning. So we're using best information, we're collating lap speed, we're looking at historic pit stops, how much fuel went in, how long they were stationary for. What we don't see is the live scenario. We don't actually see what's going on in terms of throttle usage, how much blip on the downshift, all of the little things that contribute to the United E85 fuel burn in any given lap. Are these two guys at the front upshifting at 7,000 revs, 7,200, 7,500? It's going to be different in every instance. Now, I was going to mention also that Fabian on screen there was out of phase, so even though he was high up the order, I knew that this stop was coming. He looks pretty relaxed in there at the moment. You can see that first gear's selected,
as well.
Clutch pedal depressed.
Go.
Pit lane warning lights are on the top of the wheel.
33 to go, mate. 33 to go. Still quite a ways back, but it's all good. Reset fuel. Brake lights back to 8.6, 8.65, please.
Which is a readout he sees on the mini dash. So he knows the scenario, got good rubber, 33 laps remaining. A long way down the order though. He's gone back into 20th position between McLaughlin and Dale Wood, his teammate. And really cold tyres when he arrives down there at turn 1, so a conservative approach into there.
Thought they might be a bit more in the mix this weekend, the BJR guys, but it's the way it's played out in the early part of the weekend. They haven't always been on the radar. Back here with car 2, and Tander is in 5th place right now. Good performance, he and Warren Luff. They finished on the podium here last year. That was an important podium for Garth at the Sandown 500. Right now, Winterbottom leading the way. He won this race back in 2006 with Jason Bright. It'd be a special day if he could do it again in 2015.
Alex Davison, pretty heartbreaking to end this race in the garage and a few laps down. What happened in the pit stop?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm shattered, to be honest, but it's pretty random. The pit stop was all going normal, and then all of a sudden it turned itself off. It stalled while it was still in the air, so it wasn't like he stalled it. And then I don't know if it's the same problem or something totally separate, but then he couldn't start it, and they had a starter motor fail, so they had to change the starter motor. Of course, it started up perfectly, and he was back on the track, but we're having a pretty good race. I had a great time in my stint, and you know, we're up the pointy end, sort of, and it's a real credit to the Erebus Motorsport guys, because we haven't got the fastest motor out there, and we lose a considerable amount down the straight, and they've done such a good job giving us a fast car that we're able to still be very competitive, and we're the fastest car on the track a lot of the time today. So shattered for Will, shattered for the whole team, shattered for myself. I don't know, not much else to say. Just go to Bathurst, have another crack.
We'll see you at Bathurst. Thanks, Alex.
They're a great combo, those two. They work very well together. Will and Alex Davison at Erebus Motorsport. A bit heartbreaking, but they're back out there. So this exchange continues here. Van Gisbergen locks a brake, the left front, and that will be all the opportunity that Mostert needs. That's for second place. Van Gisbergen at turn 9.
Okay, mate, get yourself up. Eyes forward, mate. Eyes forward. Cross for Reynolds.
Oh, touch.
Yeah, he's going to end up potentially dropping a spot down the other end of the straight here. So he's under threat here. Now, keep an eye on Garth Tander here, because they've just steadily played in car number 2 here as well. Co-driven today by Warren Luff. Garth was on the podium here last year in 3rd position. He's got a string of 4th places to his credit in this Sandown 500 event. Interestingly, they'd only just told Van Gisbergen a moment ago.
Safety car standby. We've got some debris on the track. Looks like a bolt at turn 6.
Race director Tim Schenken and his vigilant crew have found a bolt on the middle of the track at turn 6, and based on these punctures that we've been seeing, that needs to be removed. So the Lexus RCF safety car on standby.
That's a fast part of the track. You don't want something like that in the middle of the road there. 270 k's an hour on approach.
Brad Jones, a little wry smile on your face just there. This has probably played in pretty good. There's been a lot of people out there just very marginal on the fuel. You guys are obviously good to go on good tyres.
Yeah, but it's not good for us. We need to stay green to the end and have a few of them run out of petrol. So this is it's not great for us. I was smirking because it didn't look like much of a caution period.
Well, it's not going to be much of a caution period, but that could hopefully play, because there's still a few out there that need a few more laps than just 1 or 2 behind the safety car.
Well, we'll wait and see. I thought maybe a few of them needed 3 or 4 laps, but this will really make it, to the point where they can stretch. So the only good thing is it's going to close them all up. Fabian's got pretty good tyres, so hopefully we can get by a few, but I think I would have preferred it to stay green.
Makes it interesting.
It does.
So it's going to let a lot of people off the hook here. It'll stop a lot of the chatter about fuel. I was going to make reference to the fact that Van Gisbergen, who's on screen here at the moment as we see the replay, was only just instructed prior to this to aim at the 1.7 on the dash. That's kilos of fuel per lap. That converts to about 2.2 litres per lap. There's the lock of the front left brake on the run into turn 1 and off the road into the gravel trap. And that compares to a regular consumption around here of around 2.5 to 2.6 litres of fuel per lap. So when you're peeling out 400 or 500 mil of fuel in your fuel burn per lap, it means you're running very conservatively. So another stop there for Whincup, who's got frequent visitor points in the pit lane this afternoon. This is the perspective from the Falcon. So you can see the smoke on, off, on, off. That's Shane just pumping the pedal, trying to get the thing to stop and turn, but he just couldn't get it stopped down there. Probably a bit of brake knock-off involved in that process as well.
Still see that bolt by the looks of it off to the left there. When that happened to Van Gisbergen, was that also contributed by the riding of the curbs, the way the car bounced over it?
Yeah, which then contributes to the knock-off.
Yeah.
So a bit frustrating for him. But as always, we've seen a 10 out of 10 performance in terms of commitment and intensity from Shane Van Gisbergen.
So while we're on the safety car here at the Wilson Security Sandown 500, a highlight update for you, and those Pro Drive boards have been mighty quick, and we've seen a couple of interesting plays from car 6 and car 5 in terms of how much fuel they took on. This one triggered the safety car though. Unfortunately, Alex Buncombe went into the tyres, and that made for some pretty hectic things in pit lane. A really late call for Mark Winterbottom. He manages to keep it away from the wall, gets it stopped and turned and into the lane with a late decision. Didn't have to double stack. Mostert came in a little later and critically got out in front. At the restart, it looked a little more serious than it was for Jamie Whincup. Craig Lowndes on green tyres, getting sideways. He attacked from the outset on that brand new set of rubber. Lock brake for the 14. Ran wide, and that was all the HRT and the Xbox entry needed. Look at this. That's actually quite important that the 97 and Chaz Mostert's car, which have both done that today, gone through that culvert there, have so far gotten away without any damage as a result. Van Gisbergen went left. That made it hard for Mostert, and Winterbottom was able to move by. Bright off at turn 9. He was able to recover. So too was James Moffat. We had some dramas with one of the tyres for Jamie Whincup, and then it hit some debris, which we believe may have contributed towards a puncture. It necessitated another stop for car 1. And then this brake lock-up just a short time ago. This was the fight for second place, the 97 wide. That's all Mostert needed in terms of an opportunity through into second place.
The cars at the tail end of the train here under the control of the Lexus safety car. As they went down the main straight last time, they were almost at walking pace. So one of the challenges for the drivers when they restart now is that temperature and pressure will have both disappeared from the tyres. They'll be working the brakes pretty hard, and they'll be doing what they can to radiate heat through the brake rotor and back into the carcass of the tyre at the front. But there's an old saying that safety cars breed safety cars, so one of the challenges is to try and manage the fact the car will be slippery, difficult to drive, and it's very easy to make a mistake and for issues to crop up. Of course, the other thing is there'll be people down the field who'll try the bold manoeuvres as well.
Safety cars at the final turn.
So they're listening for the cue from Race Management Channel. There's the cue. Now they're under the control of the race leader who stabilises the speed. They're permitted to overlap from the apex of this corner here. But Winterbottom's bolted. And they're probably all off the hook now in the front running bunch at least about the whole fuel question. Now, did Van Gisbergen end up with any flat spots on that tyre on the run down to turn 9 before? Look at Tim Slade. Almost peering over the guardrail down there.
This is awesome stuff from Tim Blanchard. He's keeping the pressure right on the Super Cheap Auto Racer. He's wide there. He's been up, we talked about it earlier in the weekend, working on some braking technique stuff with Paul Dumbrell. Blanchard is currently 7th in that Cool Drive Commodore. Busy back here, Bright, the 33 of McLaughlin.
Bright's one lap down.
A couple of you asking the question about whether that bolt, maybe would that have possibly come from one of the witches' hats? Maybe that's been dislodged during the day. Has it perhaps popped out of there? Who knows? Plenty of people have been attacking that part of the circuit, that's for sure. Good stuff from Garth Tanner to be 5th right now.
All through the year, he's been Mr. Sunday, hasn't he? He's been very good. When you look at his results over the longer journey, it's been rock solid. And he was not happy at all with the car on Friday. And they've steadily made impressions and improvements with that car. And here he is now, right under the rear bumper of David Reynolds. And this has been the pattern, that they chase, but they're not dropping it out of the truck early in the weekend fast enough. And so then they've got a very long, hard job ahead of them to be able to make speed. So separating into a couple of groups here.
Caruso's done a good job from 21st position. He and Dean Fiore knocking on the door of the 10. They're in 11th place in car 23. Just coming through shot now behind Rick Kelly. He's trying to fend off the Xbox Falcon. Look at the freight train behind him.
There's a big variation in points up for grabs today. So if you have a good weekend here today and you pick up a victory, it's 300 points. It's an all or nothing day. There's no second or third heats. And that's the thing about Sandown and Bathurst in particular.
Steve-O, and there was a bit of a hold your breath period in terms of fuel strategy for a moment there, but I think that safety car's kind of helped everybody out.
Yeah, probably helped car 6 more than car 5. I think we're looking all right, but obviously it hurt our 6-second lead. But it's hard work watching all this. It's worse than being in the car, I think.
Mark Winterbottom and yourself both doing a really fantastic job all day.
Yeah, there's no better bloke you want in the car at the end. Even though we lost the gap, I think he's starting to build another one now, so fingers crossed we can hang on.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
24 points difference between first and second here. So that's worth having a fight for Winterbottom and Mostert at the moment. Mostert's on the attack in the championship and on the attack in this race. Meantime, back on board here with Garth Tander and the run to the final complex. It's David Reynolds up front.
And remember, Reynolds is only 27 points behind Craig Lowndes in the title race coming into this event. Right now, Lowndes is down in 13th position. So this is important for Reynolds.
So Rick Kelly's done a good job today as well to get that Jack Daniels Nissan into the 10. You'll see him in the background here. He's in behind Jack Perkins, Lee Holdsworth there as well. There he is. Somewhat difficult day yesterday, but they've continued to chip away.
Cars that they thought, a lot of talk about it, the revised heads might be being used by the 23 and the 15 are both 10th and 11th respectively. So they fought hard, Rick Kelly and Michael Caruso. You're riding with Rick now. It's Jack Perkins up ahead. Over the brow, then hard under brakes for this section of the circuit.
So Whincup is 20th and he's 11 seconds from the lead.
Just quickly, Adrian Burgess, I'll interrupt you. Mate, it's been an interesting old day. The 22's done an amazing job to get where they are. Bit of strategy involved and all that. It's been crazy, the strategy we've seen. But 8 drivers that you've been managing in the Walkinshaw group, all of them have done a superb job. 4 cars in the 10.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Couldn't ask for anything else. I mean, we probably should have been starting a bit closer to the front and these guys would have been really pushing on. But look, we've got 4 cars firmly in the 10 and GT's, we know he likes racing hard at the end of these races. So we're going to sit here and enjoy the show.
He is the Sunday man. I think Neil Crompton was saying before, Sundays are his thing, the long races, long stints. He just digs it in.
I think the board were trying to move the races to Monday to stop that, but at the moment we're just going to enjoy this.
Good on you, mate.
Cheers.
Adrian Burgess there, hugely experienced in motor racing, both abroad in the UK and, of course, here in Australia in V8 Supercar. And that's one of his cars right there with Garth Tander at the helm, keeping the pressure on David Reynolds. Reynolds in 4th place.
So now it's back to an old-fashioned punch-up. No real question over fuel. They're all in much the same boat with tyre age. So how adjustable is your car? And how at one with it are you? And what have you got in reserve, if anything? Track position is king. And so at the moment, Mark Winterbottom in very, very good shape from Mostert, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, and then Tander. Garth had quite a little moment there on the exit of turn 3. Had it sitting the right rear up on the top of the curb there.
I wonder if they've been keeping an eye at Port Melbourne on what's been happening here at the track while we've been focused on the 500. The 2015 VF2 Holden Commodore has been revealed today. There'll be lots of talk about that road car. And at the moment, the best of their guys is Garth Tander here, because in front, I should say it's Shane Van Gisbergen, I beg your pardon, but in front it's Winterbottom and Mostert. Those 2 blue Fords, and it's 1 second between them, Frosty to Mostert.
Look at this. Bit of Swedish action. And McLaughlin, David Wall. David Wall's actually had some good pace this weekend in that car.
And ably backed up by Chris Pither, who was strong in both the co-driver practice sessions. And he's that car 34 right there with them at the moment. It's in 16th spot. Coulthard is in between them. Shannon speed track, 256 k's an hour. Down into turn 1.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Your position 15, 21 to go, 21 to go.
Fire adjustment for turn.
I copy that. Blue 8 when you can, blue 8.
Phil Keane talking to Fabian, just getting a setting on some anti-roll bar adjusters, and you can see that information up on his dashboard. So when he heard P15, he would have gone, say that again, did you say 15? Because the level of effort never changes, but sometimes the your track position does, sadly.
Rod Nash, in a perfect world, in 20 laps time, you'd have 1, 2 and 3 a lockout on the podium.
I know, I've already been thinking that, but anyway, car 5 and 6 are there at the moment, which is looking quite good, which is great. And yeah, Dave's just sort of trying to grapple with the meat in between the sandwich at the moment. So he's got Van Giz in front of him that's been driving really well. But his old mate Tander is right behind him, so he'll be feeling fairly intimidated at this point in time. But he's still focusing, so we'll see what he can do. But 1, 2, 3 would be fantastic.
Well, fingers crossed for you. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Team owner Rod Nash there for Bottle Racing, and he's referencing a bit of a feud that happened off the back of the Winton round this year between David Reynolds and Garth Tander. I think quite close at the moment. Reynolds is 4th, Tander is 5th. This is the one we've highlighted, a couple of very good drives this weekend, and that's a really good step forward for Tim Blanchard, who's in 7th spot right now, ahead of Lee Holdsworth and Jack Perkins.
It's been a great effort by Jack once again. We saw it at Sydney Motorsport Park. Actually, on that subject, his teammate James Courtney just flicked me a note before. He's not enjoying watching, and his infusion machine just stopped, whatever that thing is. But he's now reprogrammed it, and it's got new bearings and pistons in it, and away he's gone. So, but I don't think he'd be making a very good spectator.
I think they've got a special unit that they've infused, maybe into his spine, I'm not sure, to try and help the pain, dissipate the pain. He's got to keep it with him the entire time. So not just 3 broken ribs, 5, but hey, they are targeting a return at Bathurst, and James is doing everything in his power to be back in the 22 then, if at all possible. That said, Jack Perkins and Russell Ingall have still put in a top 10 performance today. They sit in 9th at present.
Yeah, just keep an eye on Garth, because he's got a lot of pressure on the back of David Reynolds there at the moment. Don't feel too much for James, because he's got Karras waiting on him up there at the moment, which will be just a punish. There's Lucas Dumbrell, and by gee, that's been a great performance from the boys inside car number 3 today. Tim Blanchard, Carl Reindler, they've done a mighty job.
And if it hadn't have been for that steering problem for Ollie Gavin early on, the 222 was absolutely up the order as well. They could have been a real factor today, Nick Percat and Oliver Gavin.
Look at this. So here we go with Lowndes, position 13, and that's Scott Pye just in front. And you can just about see the part number on that rear wing end plate. Nice and close. So he'll torture him at the end of the back straight here. Get a little bit of a benefit by the hole that's being punched in the air on the preceding cars. Longer gearing this year will help that cause. Right here yesterday was when Lowndes got it all crossed up and thumped into the back of Jack Perkins' car. Lowndes has made ground. He's going to be getting some points out of all this. 13th at the moment.
Is he good enough or close enough here? We know he's good enough. Is he going to be close enough for a shot at Scott Pye? Maybe not. Doesn't quite get off that final turn. Pye's resisting or handling the pressure here very well. And good job, Michael Caruso ahead of them.
Yeah, so 132 points in the current position for Lowndes, but I reckon that he's half a chance to grab a couple of extra here.
Let's see what David Reynolds can do. We know that it's close on the ladder between Lowndes and Reynolds. Right now, David's 0.8 shy of Van Gisbergen in third. Roland Dane looking on in the Red Bull Racing Australia bunker.
If he is able to squeeze by Scott Pye, he's got a wall of cars in front of him, Craig Lowndes, so it's going to be difficult. Nice over the curb down there, wasn't it, car 888? Just flew across there beautifully, kept the rolling speed up. Meantime, 1.1 seconds gap, Winterbottom to Mostert. The pressure remains between the teammates. This is the final corner. Here's the gaps. First, second, then a bit of air back to Van Gisbergen. Reynolds, Tander, skating it on the rear brake a bit then Slade, Blanchard, Holdsworth, Perkins, Rick Kelly. In behind them, it was Caruso, Pye, Lowndes, McLaughlin, Coulthard, Whincup, Heimgartner, then Wall here, and he's just in front of James Moffat. And these fellas are 18th and 19th.
Little shake of the head from Roland Dane there before. We got that shot inside the 888 garage. Was this the one that got away? The drama, unfortunately for Jamie Whincup, they had dominated the first 100 laps of this race. They were strong in both the co-driver race for the grid and the one that ultimately gave them pole position or secured them pole position yesterday afternoon. Not to be for now for Jamie Whincup, but that car looks good heading to Mount Panorama, that brand new car. .9. So Winterbottom and Mostert, it's been about that marker, hasn't it? Either just under or just over a second.
So from a team's perspective, it's interesting to think about what's going on out there at the moment and what may translate for the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. So ProDrive have been the benchmark in 2015. It's good to see Tekno have found some mojo again this weekend together with Red Bull. And it looks like the Holden Racing team on race day continued to be strong. The slight disappointment at this track, but I don't think it will apply at Mount Panorama at the Brad Jones cars. I expect they'll be in amongst it. I think there's a fair chance you'll see the Volvos in amongst it there as well. So you add all that together, you're in for a cracking race up there as always.
Second half of the season has started with a bang on that basis. Looking ahead from Lee Holdsworth's car, he found some speed at Sydney Motorsport Park. He's in the 10 at present. Look at this side by side. Who is going to yield? Moffat's in the 99, David Wall in the Volvo, and it looks like the Nissan Altima will get there. Oh, 270 kilometres an hour. Moffat's through. Ash Walsh is right there too. And so's the 21 of Dale Wood and Jason Bright. Awesome stuff.
So I didn't blink for a moment there with David Wall, one out and one wide on the dirty line at turn 6. Tander cracked that nut, so he's got through on David Reynolds. He's been chipping away at that task. He goes up into position 4.
Let's get after Van Giz. He's a little bit short of fuel. He'll make it, but he's rolling out a little bit. So let's put him under pressure.
There you go. So that's the scenario that Garth's facing. So he was 4th in 2004, in 2005, in 2007. As this little battle continues on the exit of turn 4, these guys are at it. So David Wall's just absolutely getting monstered here at the moment by Ash Walsh. Dale Wood's in here as well. They're going to have another crack at trying to go 2 by 2 at the end of the back straight. They eventually resolve it to a bit of single file. Walsh crossed up, hit the inside of the curb.
Some battle scars on these cars, aren't there? But Walsh, in his first full season in the championship, is doing a very good job under pressure there. Withstands it, holds it. But you're right, I mean, for Garth, breakthrough podium at the Sandown 500 for him last year, wasn't it? It was such a special one for him.
And I hadn't got there with the fourths, so it was because these guys were at it, I had to divert my attention, but 2007, 2012, so he's got the fourth curse at this joint. Now Wood down the inside of David Wall down at turn 1. Jason Brighty's a lap behind, but he's right in the middle. He's got the best seat in the house for all this at the moment. And a little issue there at turn 9 on the exit for Reynolds. That was the reason behind the position exchange. So that's Dean Canto. So couldn't get it stopped and turned down there at turn 9 by the look of it, and that allowed Garth to get through. So we wondered how that happened. There's the answer.
Radio chat, though, for the chasing pack was they believe that Van Gisbergen is maybe a little compromised. Can they catch him? Maybe get that third spot, wrestle a podium, snare one.
It's been a pretty tough old weekend for the Nissan crew, but Rick Kelly just pounding away at it. Dave, his teammate, did a fantastic job, and I've just absolutely lost David Russell. That's what it was. He did a great job, and Rico's just been pushing on, and Mike has actually come through too, Mike Caruso. So couple there, touching in the top 10.
Yeah, it's not too bad after all. After yesterday, it was pretty disappointing, I suppose, and then 10th and 11th at the moment. It'd be nice to get Michael into the 10, so we can pick one more off for those guys. It'd be good to finish 2 in the 10. But yeah, I mean, not our greatest weekend, but we've certainly salvaged something this afternoon.
Yeah, and Moff just putting a few moves on as well. Just then, unfortunately, having that little moment down at turn 4 earlier, that's definitely cost him some space.
Yeah, well, he was in right behind Michael at the time. So anyway, it looks like he's having a bit of fun at the end there, and on a lazy Sunday afternoon. So hopefully we can get a few more out of him as well.
Not too much lazy about it. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
The hard work's done for you guys. You can sit back and relax. You used to, in this team, seem the most relaxed than anyone. The guys at the front, stressed out of all hell. Your dad, he doesn't breathe for the entire 161 laps. What is it with you two boys?
Don't worry, I'm nervous. It's just not showing any emotion here. But yeah, Chad's doing an awesome job, and so's Frosty. So Steve Owen and I are just chilling.
How do you keep the poker face, Steve?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's you see so many things happen, but we're in pretty capable hands. I think the gap's fairly constant, so these boys have got a fairly good level of respect for each other, even though they're racing in the championship. So pretty confident at this stage.
I imagine there's going to be some sort of after party if it continues to this way in a few laps' time.
You'd think we'll be mixing Pepsi Max with something at some stage tonight. If it stays this way, should be good.
Plenty of Pepsi's flowing, boys. Thanks.
Thank you.
So 10 laps to go now. Mark Winterbottom exactly 0.9 of a second clear of Chaz Mostert. Shane Van Gisbergen there, still in third place, but he's got Garth Tander closer.
Straight, get your marks, make them count.
So this is a critical battle. It might be a marginal fuel call for Van Gisbergen. Tander's been made aware of that, and he's only about 3 car lengths away from potentially getting on a podium at the moment. It's worth a lot of points, and it's worth a lot of pride.
Not sure if we'll break the race record time. It currently stands at 3 hours 19, set back in 2012 by Craig Lowndes and Warren Luff. We're sitting at 3 hours 8 at the moment. So this has been, the pace of this race has been unbelievable. As Neil said earlier on today, the sprint nature, the way they attack it, qualifying lap after qualifying lap. And all that we have between those leading forwards is 0.8, then back to these guys.
Looks like they've tidied Garth's car up quite substantially. When I stood up, I stood up there and watched earlier in the weekend, Garth's car didn't look nice at all at the end of the back straight. Didn't look too bad then. So he's getting a bit of cheerleading in the background there at the moment. I think it's Blake Smith that we can hear on the radio inside the Holden Racing team. This is Reynolds. Just have a look at the nature of the racetrack here. So sharp edges off the side of it, lots of patches. It's rubbered up heavily now. It's backfilled in behind the curbs. This is the exit curb at 3 that if you sit up on top, you can slide and whack the wall. chance to just sit and contemplate here now, watching the shift lights, contemplating where you need to brake and run at the end of the back straight.
Holdsworth is ahead of Tim Blanchard in 7th spot and has been able to gap him a little, but that's still a really, really good drive from Tim Blanchard. We jump aboard with Lee here. The point I was going to make about Tim Blanchard before, absolutely on course for his best result in this race. Up until then, best finish was a 14th with Russell Ingall in 2014. And this car that he shares with Carl Reindler right now in 8th spot. Super stuff for this team. LD Motorsport will be very happy with this.
In terms of his overall V8 Supercar Championship career, he's had a couple of 6th placings, but he's knocking on the door to even improve that, isn't he? He's behind Holdsworth and behind Slade. It has been a very impressive run. Well done. 0.6 is exactly the margin between Winterbottom and Mostert now, so that little gap has just tightened up ever so slightly.
Pro Drive, or as they were known before, FPR, have never had a 1-2 in an Enduro. They're about to do that today. Now, we talked about oil canning with the Fords the other day with the bonnet. Let's look at this bonnet here for...
There's certainly something up there that wouldn't...
Mounting or something?
Yeah, there'd be an issue. From crunching across the curbs or perhaps contact with another car early in the race, I can't imagine that they like to see those images. Is that margin?
7 to go, on forward, 7 to go.
0.6090 at the control line. Just a whisker over half a second.
Stevie Owen said in an interview before with either Murph or Rihanna that the safety car he felt really helped car 6. So he obviously felt that in fuel terms they may have been in better shape in the 5, but can they both attack here to the end? What will happen? How will they manage this? Can Mostert down to 0.58 now?
Rare to see the Red Bull Racing cars outside the top 10, Rusty. So you've got Lowndes in 13th. And looking further down the order to 16th is the name Jamie Whincup.
I think that's the reason why Roland Dane shook his head before when we...
Yeah, he won't be enjoying any aspects of this. Incredible intensity between these fellas. It's really hard to explain it and to truly convey what's going on out there, but these guys are giving it their all. Tim Edwards has said to us in the coverage earlier in the year they're absolutely free to race, and they took that to the limit yesterday.
6 to go.
Very impressive performance from this entire group.
Not done yet, obviously, but Frosty won this race back in 2006 with Jason Bright. Has had 2 podiums here, the win in 06 and on the podium again in 2012. So it's been a while in terms of victories. And as I said before, never had a 1-2 before this organisation in an Enduro such as this one, either under the PRA or Pro Drive guys, or what they used to be known as FPR. So could be a very cool day coming up for this outfit. Here the car's at full stretch there.
He was very wide at the end of the back straight then, Mark Winterbottom. And this potentially extends his championship lead, and that car looks like it's been off the road with the telltale gravel that I just saw behind it. Some little issue there for kind of a 111, which is Andre Heimgartner. For Frosty, it's a big recovery because that last race, yes, here's the evidence, turn 2. His last outing at Sydney Motorsport Park just didn't deliver anything like the sort of results we've been accustomed to seeing.
It's a testament to the cars. A few have done that today, rallycrossed over there and been able to get away with it. Drops that right rear off a little as he chases. Mostert, 34 is in the lane.
So still 0.6, and the last lap check for speed, 1:11.0 for both Winterbottom and Mostert, 11.6 for Van Gisbergen, 11.3 for Tander, 11.4 for Reynolds. So they're in a class of their own in terms of lap speed here at the moment. Jason Gray, Nathaniel Osborne, engineers at Pro Drive, just watching.
The championship points update, if things finish the way they currently are, it was 174 points, the gap between them coming into this one. They're 1 and 2 on the road. It will extend or increase, albeit marginally, to 198 points. Frosty to Chaz Mostert. But there's a couple of other stories in that. Van Gisbergen down to 7th. Whincup will drop from 6th to 8th. So it's been an interesting day for some of the others that were featuring in the championship in the first half of the season.
Speed check once again, 1:11.09 Winterbottom, 1:11.18 for Mostert. There's nothing between them. For Van Gisbergen this lap, it was a 1:11.4. Tander 1:11.4. Reynolds 11.5. Slade 11.4. 11.2 for Holdsworth. So he's got a quick car. Hasn't quite got the track position, but he's still in 7th lead. And Blanchard on an 11.7. Look at this. There's still a bit to play for here.
No, I was just going to say, to back your point up, I think it took Lee a while to clear Tim Blanchard. It wasn't an easy mission to get by Tim. So he's got a bit of speed, as you say, but Slade is up the road in the 47. And it's just, this is unbelievable, this. Still going on. 23 is Michael Caruso in 11th spot. Then it's Pye, Lowndes, McLaughlin. And this is at turn 2 and 3. And look at the air. Haven't we seen some... Oh, look at the damage to the front left. And the way the rear suspension compresses on the landing. I used the line earlier today. It's like a stadium truck, the way they launch over there.
0.4 of a second. Mostert's applying even more pressure here. He's not going to get off lightly, Mark Winterbottom. He's having to drive every lap like a quali lap at the moment. And the young bloke is on the attack. His recent form has been truly amazing. Oh, we've got a cone marker in the middle of the road down there. What'll happen here?
Well, that's all the way down at 9, so someone's obviously picked it up and taken it from 6 and 7 all the way down to Dandenong Road.
Turn 9.
So it's down the bottom of the hill. It's just been warned. Drivers are being warned by their respective crews. It's past the exit in the middle of the road, so I don't think there's going to be any great issue from the race director's standpoint. It's not metallic, and everybody will be warned on the radio and they'll see it on exit, so I don't expect there to be a reaction.
We're almost home as well. 2 laps to go. That's the radio message. Last time that a Ford team scored a 1-2 in this race, 2004. Back then it was Ambrose and Ritter that won the race. Russell, Ingle and McLean home in 2nd. So that was a good day for the Stone Brothers outfit. They're not getting ahead of themselves yet because the youngster keeps the pressure on. Mostert.
Alex Somerset's encouraging Lee Holdsworth to save fuel at the moment in position 7. A few of them will only just squeak home on fuel here.
Meanwhile, this is on for 3rd position. Remember, Tander got that breakthrough podium last year at this event. Neil said it before, he's had a string of 4th places. And he is hunting, he is chasing down Shane Van Gisbergen. Luff and Tander may just do this, but it won't be without a fight. Van Gisbergen will not give this up easily.
Shane's having to use a lot of the exit apron everywhere at the moment to keep that car's pace up. Garth's able to drive shallower. 3.1 kilometres separates Mark Winterbottom from another victory in 2015. This has been an outstanding performance for Pepsi Max and ProDrive. They're 1 and 2, but it is not resolved. Mostert continues with the pressure. Meantime, the battle for 3rd and 4th continues. Van Gisbergen is hanging on just from Garth Tander. And look at these guys. They're 1 car length apart as they head up the back straight for the very last time.
Riding with Mostert. Options running out, times running out. Great work by this outfit across the weekend. We thought Red Bull might be in the mix at this point in the day, but they've had a toughie. Not for these guys. Dandenong Road for the final time. Mostert, cheeky look, but not close enough. He's had 8 victories so far this season, Mark Winterbottom. He is about to potentially chalk up number 9. Mostert gets very close. Steve Owen and Mark Winterbottom win the Wilson Security Sandown 500. And it's a 1-2 for the Pepsi Max crew. What about the fight for third? Van Gisbergen will get there just. He holds it. Good job by the Darrell Lee racer. And Tander.
How about that? Mostert had a lunge in the last 2 corners. He did not give up. There was no let up at all to the conclusion of that race.
Well, some very excited Pro Drive Racing Australia guys down here, and so they should be. It's been a phenomenal effort today. I'm just going to try and sneak in here somewhere and grab the boss, Tim Edwards. They're all celebrating. I'm just going to grab him here. Come on through, Tim. Mate, what a day at the office for the boys. Managed incredibly well. 4 drives by the 2 main guys, the 2 go drivers. Superbly done.
Oh, and fantastic even for Dave Reynolds and Dean in 5th as well. So, you know, a little mistake towards the end, but yeah, fantastic result. I mean, that's one of the 3 out of our way. So now we've only got 600 points up for grab over the next couple. That, you know, this is always the danger zone. So great start to our enduro campaign.
It's hard enough getting a win, but to get a 1-2 in a team and be so close, so competitive like that, it's a huge achievement.
Yeah, it is. And look, you know, certainly Jamie and PD, they had the car speed and obviously the track position early on, but, you know, through different factors, we got to the front and, yeah, the boys did a great job of managing the car.
Well done.
Thanks, mate.
So just to validate Tim's point there, super start to the Enduros for these guys. So Mark Winterbottom, Steve Owen lead the Pertec Enduro Cup heading to the mountain. There's your top 3 for today, and what a fight it was. Mostert keeping the pressure on his teammate the whole way to the end, and Van Gisbergen, despite Garth Tander's very best attempts, manages to get home in 3rd place. Top job, he and Jono Webb. That was pressure-packed, that race. Unrelenting between the teammates. Different strengths, different gamesmanship today. Early on, they put less fuel in Mostert's car. That gave him a bit of track position relative to Frosty. The game changed again. It was a great exchange between all 3 cars down the back straight. And Frosty made a very good move on Mostert at that stage of the game. Van Gisbergen went left. Mostert had to roll out of the throttle briefly, and Frosty absolutely kept his foot flat on the gas. What a day. Exhausting stuff. And nice stuff here. Congratulations. The first guy there, his teammate. It's a 1-2 today for Pro Drive Racing Australia. First 1-2 for a Ford team at the 500 since 2004. That was hard fought. Lots of other stories throughout the field as the boys were pulling up and doing the burnouts before. You saw Michael Caruso get out of the car. That's how borderline some of them were to get it to the finish. The fans celebrate. 60,000 fans here today at Sandown Park. And the Enduro season has started with a bang. Tim Slade able to get the 47 home in 6th place. That's a good drive by he and Tony D'Alberto. Tim Blanchard, 8th position. Perkins got in the 10, so did Rick Kelly. Peter Travascus, congratulations. There's Adam DeBoer. There's a day of heartbreak at the garage next door for Red Bull, the one that potentially got away. They led 86 of the first 100 laps, but it's these guys that were there when it counted at the checkered flag. Lots of question whether Winterbottom can do it this year, given the renewed threat of his teammate in Mostert. And he's answering in the best possible way. He extends the championship lead. He and Owen win the 500.
Mark Winterbottom, Steve Owen, congratulations. You are the Wilson Security Sandown 500 champions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Stevie did a great job. The car was good in stints and bad in stints, but that's awesome. To win here, to stop the run of the other blokes, which has been very, very dominant. So, yeah, awesome. I'm so happy for Steve, the team, and for myself as well. It was an awesome day.
Steve Owen, we spoke to you throughout the day. It was a solid job by the team and both drivers.
Yeah, there's only 2 of us up here, but there's actually 60 blokes back at the workshop with the Pepsi Max crew that make this happen. So congratulations to all those blokes. It's a huge achievement, and this bloke just drove out of his skin for the last about 80 laps or so. So couldn't be happier.
Enjoy the podium and, of course, the champagne. 1-2 for Pepsi Max Pro Drive Racing Australia boys. Chaz Mostert, Cameron Waters. Sensational job.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're dealing with a lot of push all day, but as the rear tyres went away in that last stint, it was the best the car was all day. So awesome doing for Ford. Go Ford. Awesome 1-2, and yeah, can't wait to go to Bathurst off this.
Cameron Waters, on debut at the Sandown 500. You're standing on the podium in second position.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Chaz did most of the work, so I just gave it back to him, and he brought it home in second. So it's awesome for the team, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
This is excellent. Enjoy the podium and the champagne. Shane Van Gisbergen, Jonathan Webb on the podium. You were under pressure throughout the day, but you got the job done in the end.
Yeah, it was just such a good feeling to be up front again. So couldn't take it to these guys, but we tried. But awesome job by John all day. We're up front, but yeah, so cool to be up there.
Jonathan Webb, you step into the car, throughout the year for these endurance events, and you do the job every time.
Yeah, it was a bit tough. I was definitely rusty yesterday, there's no doubt about it. But no, today, back in the groove, I was really happy to give Shane the car, right behind the leader, and just let him run from the end. And I don't think he had it easy. He looked like he was working hard out there. He's definitely got a sweat up. But yeah, massive thanks to him and all the Techno boys.
Boys, enjoy the celebrations. Well done.
Thank you.
Tim Blanchard, number 3, the cool drive entry, mate. An amazing weekend for you guys. You've driven superb. You and Carl Reindler have done a great job, and you've done it with speed too. You've been very competitive all weekend.
Yeah, we've started off with it on the wrong foot, I guess, at the beginning of the year at Clipsal. We always said, when we get to the Enduros, that's when we expect to get it all together. And boys done an awesome job, and Carl did fantastic. He made up spots every time we got in the car and just didn't put a foot wrong all weekend. Nick in the other car was just as quick, so it's a shame he's not up here in the top 10 as well. But yeah, really happy with the result.
What do you put it down to? I mean, you've been sort of struggling around for a lot of the season so far, but the pace this weekend, as I say, was genuine, and you guys, put it where the car deserved to be.
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of things with the car, getting all the small bits right. So Baz and Brendan and the team have done an awesome job of sorting that out, and been up seeing Paul Morris and a few people to give me a bit of help with the driving, so that's helped as well.
Well done, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's Tim Blanchard and Carl Reindler's best finish of the season and best in the Sandown 500 for both guys, 8th place. Mark Winterbottom and Steve Owen win for Pro Drive Racing Australia, their first Sandown 500 win this outfit since 2006 when Frosty won with Jason Bright, and it breaks that streak of 4 500 wins in a row by 888. Caruso, that car pulling up just over the line. Let's go to Chad at the podium.
It's time for the podium here at the Wilson Security Sandown 500. In first place, Mark Winterbottom and Steve Owen, the Pepsi Max crew. In second, Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters for the Pepsi Max crew. And in third place, Shane Van Gisbergen and Jonathan Webb, Team Darrell Lee Sticks. Representing our Castrol winning team is Brad Durin of the Pepsi Max crew. Representing the trophies today in third place, Paul Blair, Managing Director of Armoured Auto Group. Our second place trophy comes from Stephen Dutton, Chief Executive Officer of Pertec. With the winning team trophy is Brett Pickens, the General Manager, Strategy and Development of Wilson Security. And with our first place trophy, it's Paul Brazier, General Manager, Specialist Security of our naming rights sponsor, Wilson Security. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 Wilson Security Sandown 500 Podium.
It is time for the champagne display. Great day. First time that ProDrive's finished 1-2 in a V8 Supercars Championship endurance race. And that victory for Frosty, his 38th career win. And that draws him 7th, equal 7th on the all-time list in Australian Touring Car Championship V8 Supercars history with the great Alan Moffat. Awesome stuff. An amazing day for all sorts of different reasons. And Van Gisbergen able to get it over the line for third, despite Tanner's pressure. Highlights of the Wilson Security Sandown 500. Marcus Ambrose, that gear selection scenario for him. He didn't get off the line well. And then this, a bungled stop for the 33. Lucky no issue there. And it necessitated a drive-through penalty. Andre Heimgartner was the only one to break the trend. Everyone else starting with co-drivers. He pitted and then ultimately put Ant Pedersen, his co-driver, in the car. We got to the critical marker in lap 54 before we saw the primary drivers all step in. Few of them pushed the boundaries, and we saw this happen for car 7. Unfortunately for Alex Buncombe, that brought out the safety car.
Well, this seems like a very long time ago, doesn't it, Craig? It's been a very busy afternoon of activity. I think the impressive thing for me throughout the day is the number of drivers that just were committed to 10/10ths driving throughout the entire afternoon. Very impressive to see them pushing on so hard. One or two little unforced errors along the way. Some great exchanges, including this one at the end of the back straight. Difficult day for Red Bull Racing Australia. Couldn't get that front right off, and that's where the problems began. Just noticed Greg Murphy got a whack in the side of the head with a camera there as well, so it's a difficult day for him. And we think that there was actually a little hook that came off the gantry that punctured a tyre for those guys later in the day. Locked up and off the road, turn 9 on the exit for Shane Van Gisbergen. Mistake for David Reynolds allowed Garth Tander to grab an extra spot, and he adds to the bank of fourth placings that he's had.
At the end, they fought the whole way to the line, but it's a ProDrive Pepsi Max 1-2, Winterbottom and Owen winning the 500.